Good morning and welcome to the AM show right here on the Joy News channel, your home of independent, fearless, incredible journalism. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and of course I host this with Benjamin Akakpo. And you know, if you've been following us for a while, the first on our list this morning will serve you news that matters to you. And then we'll get into the newspaper review segment. And today, Courage Nobi, the Deputy Director of Communications for Alliance for Revolutionary Change, will be joining us to get into the papers. And after that, Muftar Nabila Abdullahi will bring you the latest updates in the world of sports and everything about Man City winning that beautiful cup yesterday. Now, for our big conversations today, we have over 2.4 million Ghanaians living with diabetes and its death-threatening consequences. It is said to be accounting for some 65% of deaths in the country. Blame it on lifestyle choices, heredity, or natural causes. The danger these non-communicable diseases pose is real, as it reduces the quality of life of many. So today we'll look at the occurrences, the causes, management, and prevention of the diseases. It's your health and it's your life, and you don't want to miss that conversation. Also, 10 nominees, 10 impact makers. We'll tell you more about the Joy Impact Makers Awards and the need for groups and corporate organizations to be part of this noble cause of shining light on those who make strides to affect the lives of others in the society. Who wins the ultimate award? In this year's edition of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards. We'll bring you all that conversation later on in the show. And then we'll get into the story about the tragedy that struck the community of Injiraisia in the Sekendita-Krade metropolitan area as a devastating premix fuel explosion claims 2 lives and injures 14 others. We have the update on this heartbreaking incident. So you want to join us with your comments, with your thoughts, either via phone or across all social media platforms at Joy News on TV, and join the conversation. My name is Sweetie Abochi. Up next is the news. Please stay with us till the end of the show. Thanks for staying with us. Now, details for the AM News. Joy News is learning President Akufo-Addo's convoy has been involved in a fatal accident at Bonsu Junction in the eastern region. Reports suggest a Kia Renault truck crossed the convoy, resulting in a collision that claimed the life of 1 person and left others injured. A statement released by the Communication Directorate at the Presidency states, the statement reads, on Sunday, 19th of May 2024, several vehicles belonging to the President's convoy were involved in a fatal accident along the Bunsuachim-Asafo stretch of the Accra-Kumasi Highway. The unfortunate incident occurred whilst the convoy was on its way back from Kumasi after accompanying the President to Kumasi for a series of events this weekend. Tragically, one of the drivers, Mr. Kwesiata, has lost his life. Additionally, several close protection and police officers from the President's security detail have sustained varying degrees of injuries and received initial treatment at the Suhum Government Hospital. The injured persons are currently being evacuated to the University of Ghana Medical Center for further treatment and observation. Several vehicles in the convoy have also been completely wrecked as a result of the accident. Fortunately, the President is safe and unharmed as he traveled to Accra via military aircraft. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family of the deceased, and we wish a speedy recovery to the injured officers. Further details will be communicated as we continue to assess the situation. They appreciate the understanding and support during this difficult time. Well, still on some more tragic news, tragedy has struck the Nhyerso community in the Sekondi Takoradi metropolis following a devastating premise fuel explosion. The incident, which occurred on Saturday, May 18, 2024, has claimed the lives of a 15-year-old boy and a 7-year-old boy, with several others critically injured. We bring you details in this report.
On Saturday afternoon, when a premix fuel explosion occurred, leaving a trail of destruction and heartbreak. According to a traditional leader, Nana Doko Ajemandi III, the explosion happened around 4 p.m. as fishermen were transporting premix fuel in barrel to the canoe along the beach.
Due to road access only, mpano wanenti. Was the baby ana drum no rolling no. You know about get place of where the canoe is. Unfortunately, na does it. Mudu if you papa na me call it the premise obi no koto wo roll is a compano when wa pay if you drum no ma ija for ma car selection impa so the main wire then we see. So all of a sudden me cause for from pay for na yeah then yi sanampa no na yakwahwe fire service for bay bizu woni djuma yakọ Benedict Hospital me yoke say 16 people no are victim tell our Benedict Hospital our Nchaban and tell my people of Injesia that there is a road at the seashore side which we are intent to create that road. If the road is there, all this thing will not happen.
The assembly member of the Palm Lands electoral area, Gabriel Mensah, has been at the hospital.
We have 16 victims, and then if you contact is taking charge of 13 of them, and then out of the 13, this morning we've lost one. There were 2 out of the 13 who were sent to the theater, and then this morning we've lost one. We are just from the morgue, and you could see the lifeless body of the young boy. He is 15 years. So out of the 16, we have 5 who are female, and then we have 11 who are male. So out of the 11, we have 3 males at Benedict Hospital. So like Nana said, that has been the trend. They buy the premix from the site, then they roll the drum through the street.
In response to the tragedy, Professor Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Essikado constituency, visited the victims at Ifeanyi Hospital. She offered support for surgeries and donated items to aid hospital operations.
So I've been doing the dressing changes for the patients as we just finished one, and I'm going through the rest of the ward. I was supposed to be in church this morning. I had a lot of invitations, but I think that this is one of those things. And then we've also identified some of the victims that need to be transferred. So we're working on the transfer as well. It's a lot of work, but I think that that's the job that I was practically going to be the next MP for Essikado constituency. And this is the job that I will be expected to do, and especially since this is in my field of medicine. The healthcare of Western region is very poor, and I think that there's a lot we have to do to upgrade and fix the healthcare. Because as it is right now, all these patients are being transferred outside of the Western region. Why this Ifeanyi feeds both Western North and Western South. So why can't we have services here that is self-sustaining, that we don't have to transfer people to sometimes, especially not like burns.
As the community of Nhyerso grapples with this tragedy, efforts are underway to provide the necessary support and prevent such incidents in the future. In Athalia Kwansa, Joy News, Takoradi.
So that report was from the tragedy in Nhyerso in Essikado, not in Nhyerso. Beg pardon. Now, away from that, stakeholders in air quality are advocating a youth-centered approach to education and awareness creation around air quality, leveraging social media to reach a larger community. According to Benjamin Adedevo, community lead for clean air in Tema, the fight against air pollution cannot succeed without the involvement of the youth. He emphasized this point in an interview at Bema Camp in Tema, organized by the Ghana Think Foundation with support from the Clean Air Fund. More in this report.
With the increase in air pollution due to heavy industrial activities and vehicle emissions, a significant obstacle in managing air quality is the lack of education and awareness about the importance of clean air and the dangers of inhaling polluted air. Community lead for clean air in Tema, Benjamin Adadivo, advocates youth-centered education on air quality, utilizing social media to engage the youth effectively.
So in regards to social media, everyone has to be involved. We are using the various hashtag clean air Ghana and hashtag clean air for all to create a lot of awareness on social media. We have been doing Twitter space discussions about clean air. I myself have been creating a number of blog posts just to educate people on it using the hashtag, creating more live updates. We also have social media influencers who are engaging people on social media about cleaner air. So we need to get more people talking. The conversation has to go on, especially online. Create more communities, get more groups to talk about it and discuss about the importance of quality air in our neighborhood, in our community. And we are using social media to reach as many people as possible because social media is very global.
BoG Camp for Tema 2024 organized a Ghana Think Foundation with support from the Clean Air Fund, and is a free networking forum that brings people together for learning, sharing, networking and mentoring. According to Mr. Adadivo, BoG camps over the years have been instrumental in initiating major societal improvements.
For our BoG camps, we always have a breakout sessions where we discuss certain important topics like clean air. We've discussed other topics in the past like blogging and social media. Anytime we have these discussions, we implement those ideas. So it's like we have a brainstorming section where people come together and then they create various ideas. So after that, we find a way of putting all these ideas together. We try and so it doesn't just live here at our discussion, but we try and make it happen. So we create even a group where we discuss or we put in the points that we've raised, and then we find out how can we implement it, how can we move it forward after here. It has yielded more results because we've created apps, we've created innovative ideas from this. People have created websites and softwares from the ideas that we are discussing. People have created movements and groups from the ideas that we are discussing. People have come up with a post or an idea or a write-up with some of the ideas that we've discussed. So yes.
Women and children are the most vulnerable to the effect of air pollution. Mami Sewa Buedu Bequin is the Assistant Programs Manager at the Ministry of Gender and Children Protection. She is calling on the EPA to implement policies aimed at protecting these groups.
They are the vulnerable ones. Children and women, they are the most vulnerable ones when it comes to air pollution. So I would suggest that EPA, they intensify their awareness creations and their education policies and also their plans to help curb the air pollution. Even if not completely, they should just minimize it. And also, they should review their policies governing air pollution. Now, we all say that we are in a global village. And I believe the EPA, they have a communication unit or they have education unit, and even if they are able to post at least once every week, it will go far. So in awareness creation, social media is one of the biggest platforms that you can ever get to say whatever you want. So when you're able to activate all your social media handles, being it Facebook, being it Twitter, that which is now Thread, wherever you go, I think it will really sell. So they should intensify it.
This story was produced in collaboration with New Narrative with funding from Clean Air Fund. The funder had no influence over the content of the story. Reporting for Joy News, Prince Kwame Kuduga.
From Bar Camp in Tema, let's now go to the Central Region, where the Ewutu Winton Senior High School, located in Ewutu Breku in the Central Region, has benefited from the installation of a solar energy system that can take the institution off the national grid. The system, comprising 92 solar panels with a 30 kilowatt total installed capacity, is valued at £50,000 sterling. Potential Engineering, a UK-based energy solutions organization, set up the facility. Now, Richard Kojonyako has more in this report.
The school, which has a student population of over 500, has recently wrestled with unreliable electricity supply, which hampers operations and impacts student learning. The institution's appeal for help through its main funders based in the UK led to a fact-finding mission in November 2023, which has been followed with the completion of the installation. Director of Education at the facility, Peter Donko, explains the importance of having this alternative source of power.
We are going to have constant supply of electricity from the solar. It will also reduce the cost to the government, and then for schools elsewhere where they have to pay their electricity by prepaid. I spoke to one of the heads of a school, and they spend about 3,000 plus or so a month for prepaid electricity for the school. So having this facility at the school is going to save, one, the government a lot of money, and two, it will just, as I've already said, facilitate the running of activities in the school.
Director of Potential Engineering, Dan Smith, a British Army veteran who responded to the plight of the school, told Joy News what motivated his team to the act.
It has huge benefits, not just for the school financially, but also it makes this a beacon for other schools in the area and in Ghana. You know, that can hopefully gain some inspiration from it, and we've shown that it's possible to do this on a fairly large scale. What we really want to do is promote what we're doing so that we can be actors and be trusted with funding to be able to execute this over and over again.
Although the project did not come cheap, Mr. Smith believes the long-term gains will prove that replicating the concept nationwide could be beneficial for Ghana.
But upon seeing how much this school can do for a community and the pupils that are here at the moment, we've set a huge task to actually get this school off grid with a fairly extensive solar system with modern equipment that we install in the UK every day. So it's extremely fortunate, I think, that we've been able to get all of the equipment here and rally the team to be able to deliver this in such a short period of time.
Some students of the school also highlighted the importance of the project to their lives.
Of late, we've been having lights out, which have been affecting us, especially those of us who come to the school to take part in prepping. So personally, I think it's going to help us have enough time to study, and then the distractions are actually going to reduce. Yeah.
I think solar system is good. It's good to have. But this being the first school, it's just a nice privilege to have that solar system.
The solar installation will power key facilities such as the school's water treatment plant, biology and physics labs, and the juice-making unit.
Imagine being taught by your own peers so you can grasp the subject earlier and better. Wondering how this will work? Well, the students at Northern College of Science and Technology are using their ICT on Wheels project to teach students in the Yendi municipality ICT skills as they get ready to sit for the Basic Education Certificate exam. Yes, more.
In Ghana, information, communication and technology has become very important, making it a part of our daily lives. Many have relied on this to make life easier and better. But for children in the Yendi municipality, this may seem far-fetched. But all that's changing thanks to a project by the Northern College of Science and Technology with its ICT on Wheels policy. Per this, students of the school are equipped with the requisite knowledge, making it possible for them to impart the knowledge learned to their compatriots. The school has a van installed with computers, powered by solar, and with furniture designed to be used in schools without electricity or furniture for a class of 30 students. Today, the van has docked at Kokpini JHS in Yendi. It takes about 30 minutes to set up the van and start lessons. Al-Hassam Rim Nasara and Ephraim Jamfi are the students from the Northern College of Science and Technology who teach their peers all they need to know about ICT. They teach in both English and native Ghanaian languages for easy understanding.
At the same time, normally when we come, we teach them things about the hardware components, the software components that we need to deal with, and how to use them. So, for example, softwares like Excel, Microsoft Word, some of them they don't know how to use them. So we've taken it upon ourselves to teach them to use them, so it can benefit them.
But sometimes there are particular questions that you ask, and some of them might know it, but they are afraid to raise their hands and say it because they feel like, oh, it will be wrong. But anytime I'm teaching them or I'm sharing my knowledge with them, I always tell them that there are no wrong answers in ICT. Share what you have, and if it needs to be corrected, it will be corrected.
For these students of Kokpini Junior High School, it's a rare opportunity to sit behind and use a computer.
We've learned about computer, how to boot computer, to know first generation, second generation, and the software, hardware, and then a lot of things. We learned a lot of things.
We said computer is an electronic device that accepts data, process, and store information.
Shadrach Apia, the ICT coordinator for Northern College of Science and Technology, explains why they use students to teach other students.
The ICT on Wheels is a program that is seeking to give deprived schools of ICT knowledge. Using our students, we teach our students in order to also learn how to give back the learning they've done back to the community they came from, in order to help their colleagues also get the knowledge in ICT to help them or aid them to write their BC successfully.
Assistant Headmaster of Kokpini JHS is excited about the initiative.
Actually, this lesson is very, very beneficial to the student because this is the first time they have their hand on a computer. We have been teaching it theoretically. They don't know what the mouse is, what the system unit is, but today they have seen everything with they even touch them. They even had laptops in front of them, and I hope it's going to benefit them very much.
Implemented with support from the Ghana Education Service, authorities at Northern College of Science and Technology hope to replicate it in other schools to make ICT teaching and learning easier.
That's what they used at that time.
Now, still to come in this bulletin is a business segment. And Benjamin Akakbo is standing by to bring you the business updates. Benjamin?
Well, thank you for staying for our all-new business update segment. Now, in our first story, the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee has instructed cement manufacturers to publish all factory prices of cement today, May the 20th, to evaluate and arrive at a fair cement price to ensure transparency. This follows the refusal of cement manufacturers to reverse the price increment of cement after a directive from the Ministry of Trade to do so. Now, the manufacturers had argued their decision was based on the continuous depreciation of the cedi. But Responding to these concerns, the chairman of the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee, Professor Alex Dodu, said they, cement manufacturers, had resolved to publish their cost build-up on Monday to ascertain the new price of cement.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry, or government, correctly, laid a legislative instrument, LI 2480, which regulates cement or the cement industry, in particular cement manufacture in Ghana, the location, the site, the types, etc., etc. That legislative instrument, LI 2480, gives the Minister for Trade and Industry the legislative power to provide licenses for cement factory, to also issue licenses for the production of cement, and importantly, to regulate the sale, manufacture, wholesale, and retail of cement. The minister's directive to the committee when it launched the committee on the 8th of March was clear. Cement price increases should be regulated and should pass through the committee, and the ministry should be involved. He also charged the industry to publish the ex-factory prices for cement to prevent arbitrary increases at the marketplace. Over the past few weeks, there have been increases in cement prices. We all know that. So the minister says, let there be a reversal. This morning, the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee that I chair on behalf of government met all members of the committee, which includes the AGI, the cement manufacturers, as well as the EPA.
On our second story, the Bank of Ghana says it has intentions of deliberately keeping policy rates high to profit from that action. It follows reports that the central bank had been going down this road to profit out of these actions. But the Bank of Ghana insists it remains committed to pursuing sound monetary policies aimed at achieving a stable inflation in line with its medium-term target. Bernard Otabil speaks for the Bank of Ghana.
Anyone who makes that statement that the central bank would deliberately keep monetary policy rate high in order to make profit, I mean, perhaps, that does not fully understand, central banking. I mean, it is rather the opposite. The higher the policy rate, the more losses that the central bank would incur in its operations. But that's the price central banks actually pay in the performance of their duty. And in actual fact, in achieving the policy objective, central banks globally do end up making losses. But what exactly is the role of the central bank? And that's where we have to situate it in context. And I believe that that's where perhaps the misconception or the misunderstanding really lie. Now, for us as a central bank, the Bank of Ghana is committed to pursuing monetary policy that would, lead to price stability. And what does it mean? For us, we've defined price stability in terms of a medium-term target of 8 plus or minus 2%. Now, we believe, and it is a view that is held globally, or that was the economics of my youth, and it's still the economics of today, that if prices are not stable, it has very big consequential effects on everybody. All economic agents suffer when prices are out of the roof or prices are not controlled. Take the case of an ordinary worker. If prices go up, what happens is that your real income, that is what you could have purchased with your previous or with your salary, with your current salary, is going to reduce simply because inflation now becomes an added tax. So we normally would say, in a case where wages are not indexed to the rate of inflation, you would realize that there is always a loss effect on every economic agent when inflation.
Well, thanks for watching our business update for today. Sweetie Abochi.
And that's how we're wrapping up for the AM News on the AM Show. Stay for the conversation, starting with a News Super Review segment. We'll be right back.
Time now for the news review. Right before I introduce my guest, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helps us every morning to bring you this segment. They're offering prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. Let's start with Accra. They can be located at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Then there's Kumasi Kronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Esiamanzema. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But our guest this morning, Sweetie, would you like to do us the honors?
Well, he's no stranger to the show. We're joined in the studio by Courage Nobi, the Deputy Director of Communications for the Movement for Change. Although part of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, they are still very much movements for change. Courage Nobi, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Sweetie, and my own brother, all the way back to Legon days, the polyglots. We've always called him.
This morning, you've escaped not supporting Arsenal. People collect water.
You know, I'm a man of tough heart, yet I don't want to subject it to too many fluctuations. Yes.
Good for you. Stay safe, my brother. Don't follow them.
But around this time, if you're an Arsenal fan, maybe a Kotoko fan, maybe a Black Stars fan, Charlie, you are not in the best of places, because everywhere you pass, I'm a Kotoko fan, so Man U fan, Black Stars fan.
It takes a lot of faith to survive supporting those teams.
But you know how we do it on the show, Courage. You have about a minute to talk about any topical issue or any issue really of national interest that you'd like to react to.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, and good morning to viewers this morning. I think top of the list this morning would be road safety. I mean, for very obvious reasons. I think as a society, there's still much left of us to ensure that our roads are safe for passage, particularly the Accra-Kumasi highway and almost all other highways, Cape Coast, Accra, Adan, Accra, all those ones that take a lot of very high traffic, but these also take a lot of high speed in traffic. It's not just the volume of traffic, but the rate at which they have to move. For example, on the N1 stretch, from Aflao all the way to Alubo, people are crossing from this country to others and all of that. So it requires a lot of high speed. And that is why our road development, how we design and construct our roads are very, very important. And what roads we prioritize as a nation, are very, very important. The unfortunate passing of the driver of the president returning from a funeral, it leaves a lot to think about.
Right. So one funeral leaves us with another funeral. But with another, I keep asking myself, and someone told me about the Cape Coast stretch recently, and do you know what my first reaction was? Cape Coast, Charlie, you better be careful on that stretch. Because we know, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody, but that stretch it's dangerous. I don't want to use certain words. It's dangerous.
Apart from, there's what we call the 13 curves on that stretch, and most drivers are not aware of it. Yeah. So if you know when you are getting to those places, you are a bit slower so you can negotiate them carefully. But apart from that, it's too dark.
Yeah.
It's just too dark. Sometimes from Winneba, you come all the way to around Kaswa before you begin to see some flickers of street lights. But it also means that the Fourth Republic so far has not been able to deliver on its promise. It's not been able to deliver. 32 years down the line, we've not been able, between the NPP and the NDC apiece, we've not been able to deliver road safety.
But come to
whether
think
it's
of it,
about the volume of roads we construct, whether it's about how we design and construct them, how we maintain and run them, and all of that. We seem to be failing at every point. I'm not saying nothing has happened.
The president doesn't miss any opportunity to tout this administration as having done the most when it comes to road infrastructure. Contended, yes, contended, but he's touting that. And then we see, you know, the vice president, his wife, Samira Bawumia, there was an incident not too long ago. A bodyguard died, road accident. Now, another incident. I don't know whether I'm the only one who finds this very troubling.
I think I find it very mediocre, you know, when those claims are being made. If what you need is 1,000 and your opponent did 50 and you come and you do 70, you don't tout it. Because we are still far away from the objective. But if you take us from 50 to 350, 400, 500, that is transformation. Right. So you see, between these two parties, when we say they've not yielded transformation for us, that is where the challenge is. So piecemeal development, okay, I better pass my neighbor kind of comparison, it doesn't help anybody. And that is why we need to make a decision as a country for one that will bring transformation, something drastic that improves our fortunes as a nation.
Right. On that note, let's get into the newspapers, starting with the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, 2 dead, 14 injured in Essikado. That's the explosion that we saw there. Sidiku Buhari welcomes Stevie Wonder. St. Mary's College of Health Sciences holds matriculation. 1 killed in presidential convoy crash. John Kume's death, personal loss, says Bawumia. Let's get into the paper now and see what stories we'll get into, starting with MPs approve $150 million Garrett loan. Now, I think that parliamentary recall has been put to some use. The story reads, Parliament last Friday approved a $150 million loan facility meant to finance the ongoing Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project with overwhelming majority caucus support, despite the minority caucus hardline stance to reject it. The New Patriotic Party majority voted 137 to 132 to pass the loan, which is an additional financing agreement between the government of Ghana and the International Development Association of the World Bank. Not just that, ministers were also approved. What I'll do is get through all the stories that I want to do in this paper, and then we get to the reactions, right? So 2 dead, 14 injured in Essikado explosion. 2 people have lost their lives following a premix fuel explosion at Injireshia, a fishing community in Essikado, Ketan constituency of the Western region. The 2 were among 16 people injured after the incident which occurred on Saturday. We brought that story to you earlier in our news bulletin on the AM show. John Kume's death, personal loss to Bawumia. I think that is what he said during his funeral over the weekend. Defamation rights on disclaimers. That's an editorial. Harmony in diversity. Dr. Bawumia's stance of unity. DR Congo Army says it has thwarted attempted coup. Let me get into that story. The Democratic Republic of Congo Army says it has quashed an attempted coup against President Felix in the capital, Kinshasa, involving Congolese and foreign fighters. Now, DR Congo Army spokesperson Brigadier General Sylvain Ekenge said on the state-run broadcaster RTNC TV that several suspects had been detained and the situation is now under control. I'll do one more story. The presidential convoy crash. 1 killed in presidential convoy crash. A fatal accident, we're just talking about roads, occurred yesterday involving multiple vehicles from the president's convoy on the Accra-Kumasi highway at Bunsu-Echim, Asafo. The terrible incident occurred while the convoy was returning from Kumasi, where the president had attended a series of events over the weekend. We also brought you that story earlier in the bulletin. Fela McCarthy wants my house. IMF praises government's reform efforts. That is interesting. Head of Communications at the International Monetary Fund, Julie Kozak, has commended the government and the Bank of Ghana for making good progress on the country's comprehensive debt restructuring. Ms. Kozak, who was speaking at a press conference, said the government's strong policy and reform efforts under the program were being fruitful and signs of economic stabilization were emerging. I'll leave it at that, and then we'll get into those. Some quick reactions on those stories? Courage? Is there for me? Why did you say?
Yes, because yet again it's another loan. Yet again it's another fire explosion. Yet again. So It's
when your debt to GDP is already at 104%.
Exactly. So why are we still thinking of going in the same direction instead of changing direction? And that is the extent to which, mostly when you look at what is happening, you realize that really the establishment, and by that I mean the two parties that have been in charge, really do not have anything more to add, anything more to offer. Because 150 million, and whilst I was on my way listening to your colleagues on radio, they were talking about the IMF again preparing to sign off some $300 million tranche and all of that because some bilateral partners have reached a deal together with Ghana. You know, it does not augur well for us.
Right.
It will not solve the problem. It cannot solve the problem. I always say that the IMF was not set up to develop any nation. The IMF is set up to prevent contagion effect on other economies. So Ghana is in this mess. The IMF would come in so that it does not extend to Cote d'Ivoire and all other neighboring countries.
What you've said is spot on.
Exactly.
I always go back to my interaction with the IMF boss. She said exactly that. Ghana is this and that. We don't want, Ghana is a bastion of whatever economic and political progress within the sub-region. You don't want it. That's exactly what she was alluding to. And that's what they are there for.
So when I hear politicians begin to praise themselves for being at the IMF and saying that we've made this progress, made this marginal progress, and it's all this tiptoeing. We've not leapfrogged. We've not jumped out. And you cannot do that with the same mindset. See, I was with one of my elderly colleagues when two officials of his bank walked in. And guess what? It was the relationship manager who manages his account and the operations manager of the bank. So I was like, oh. And they're like, we came to find out whether all is well because realized that for some time now you've not deposited. He says, well, I'm not making sales. Check the shop.
Right.
Everything is the prices have gone high due to exchange rate and all. So at the end of the conversation, I just asked the lady, so what is your current interest rate? He says, we've stopped giving loans.
Because you can pay back.
Yes, stop giving loans because too many individuals and companies are unable to pay back. Right. So, okay, before you stopped, what was the last rate? It said 32%. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you're borrowing today, if you're adding, the normal borrowing rate, if you're factoring in inflation, if you're looking at, insurance, yes. If you are looking at what the bank will take, I mean, you're looking at 40%.
Yes.
40%.
It means that for any business that you're doing, if you are not making more than 50% profits, you cannot finance your insurance, your loans, and all of that, and also sustain the business. And that is why many companies are closing down. Yeah. We only hear of the multinationals who are leaving. There are a lot of local...
As for the locals, you don't need to. Why we talk about the multinationals is because they are big. We all know them. But as for the locals, I mean, it's not... I personally know so many that have gone under.
Interestingly, it is the SME sector that sustains the economy. And there are those who are suffering. There are those who are losing out, who are closing out. Check most places that were occupied by retailers. A lot of the most popular signage now is for sale, for rent. Yeah. For sale for rent.
Yeah.
And when you check
the malls are empty.
Yes, this place was occupied. What happened?
I mean, even go to Cantamanto, scan
of all places
the area, and you will see that things are not the same. So what? But I have two quick things for you. Yes, so debt to GDP hovering where it is. If you look at the top 10 in terms of indebtedness to the IMF, yes. 5 African countries are in there. Ghana is number 4 on that list. I believe it's Egypt, Angola, then is it Kenya, Ghana, and then Cote d'Ivoire, right? Our indebtedness. But if you look at how small we are, our economy and everything else. But I'm curious. You are saying all of these things now, right? but not a long while ago, you were in bed with the MPP. Is it only that when you come out, then you see the truth, or when you're in there, you are my friend, but you know me. I'll speak. What happens? That's my bit to you.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I left the NPP is because they no longer appreciate the truth. When you're a truth speaker within their fold, you're a threat. And for a long time, I mean, for me, you can ask them, reach out to them. I've been very consistent in my position. I started talking about some of these things as far back as 2019. I said the fact that John Mahama could talk about corruption means we are failing. By 2019, he could boldly make statements about corruption. It only means that he's checked it and he said, no, these guys have either equaled my record or they're beating it. So now I can talk. You know, you check the indices. We're spending a lot of money on programs that were not necessarily creating jobs, like NAPCO and all of that. And I said, no, that is not the way to go, because you need to create jobs. You can employ, but not create jobs. So, okay, you've taken 10,000 to the police service. You've employed, but have you created jobs? No. So it means that the number of jobs available, the opportunities for jobs is still the same. You are just piling up in the sectors that you control. So we've always spoken about this. The Honorable Elijah Martin has always been consistent in saying that let us make businesses grow. And that is why across the country, he championed the creation of 67 business resource centers to support youth enterprises. Because when young people create jobs and they are able to employ 10, 15, 20, and all, that is when your economy begins to expand. And where we are now...
That's why you've left the NPP.
That's why we've left. Principal reasons.
Because, again, we're running against time. Let's get into the stories of the day. Now, the Ghanaian publisher on the front page, Akufo-Addo calls for ethical journalism. Bawumia's running mate, NPP Blue Queens clergy black woman. Parliament approves new ministers. Let's get into the paper now. Akufo-Addo calls for ethical journalism. So the President Akufo-Addo has issued a call to the media fraternity, urging them to maintain high standards of accuracy, integrity, and ethical journalism. He emphasized that while media support is crucial for thriving, it must be accompanied by a commitment to uphold the profession's ethical norms. He was speaking at the closing ceremony of the African Media Convention in Accra, which drew over 2,000 media professionals, policymakers, and scholars from across the continent. I'll just do headlines now. Bawumia's running mate, NPP Blue Queens clergy black woman. CJ directs special prosecutor to respond to Amidu's petition. My presidency will focus on renewable energy. That is according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And more. There are more stories in here, so you can pick a copy.
On that CJ story.
I just smiled.
And you say Atijao, Ajita.
Ah, okay. Benjamin. Anyway, courage no be.
The government is continuing to fight those who fight corruption. I don't get it. You know,
as Mr. Dobelevo will say,
it's not just
if you fight corruption, corruption will fight back.
That we've always known, but you don't.
Well, it took him to vocalize it.
You don't expect it to come from the quarters it's coming from, the Jubilee House. Whether it is Martin Amidu, whether it is Domelovo, all of it comes from the Jubilee House.
Why do you think it comes from the Jubilee House? It is a former special prosecutor, curiously, who is petitioning the president. And the president says, I have a timeline of a week. I'm just doing what the law says. I forwarded it to the Chief Justice. Chief Justice also says, relax. Why? Is that not the law? The Chief Justice also says, I have received it. Kisi Ajabin, come and explain yourself to me.
The same president
is the law.
Who has even written to Parliament not to forward the proper human sexuality bill to them, proper family values bill to him. The same president. This same president, whilst there was a case in court against the e-levy, signed it hurriedly. So
there were two instances, not that I necessarily supported, but against G. Mensah, there were issues that were brought to him. What happened to those? Never forwarded. And that's for Ekufo. You know, there are things that have happened.
We saw that of Madame Charlotte
Osei, yes.
So when you see it, you know, whenever you see tiki-taka on the football field, you know Barcelona is playing. And that's why we say that all of these things come from the Jubilee House. You know, even the one who went to court against the proper family values bill. My own brother, Richard Sky, you know, when you probe a bit, you know, to the extent that the president was aware even before he went to court. It means the Jubilee House was aware. Was he on it?
Reference to it even before the case was filed.
He made reference to it. Was it on the 3rd or the 4th?
Yeah. On the 4th. Before, and then on the 5th.
That was in the meeting with the diplomatic community. Before it actually appeared in court.
So when I hear same president call for standards in journalism, Mr. President, where are your standards? Which standards have you demonstrated? You are the leader of the nation, both spiritually and physically. And so what you do has ripple effects. And now, my own brother, Manas Azuri, and others have really suffered in this same administration.
Right.
And these are journalists. Where is Anas? When was the last time we saw the exploits of Anas? You know, under this same government. You know, he's being fought everywhere. So I look at the president and the entire government. I look at them, I hear them speak, and nothing in me speaks of trust for them. And it's because of such double standards. And I'm concerned because there are young people who are following the politics and watching, and they are beginning to sink in with them that politics is about dishonesty. And that is dangerous for our society.
One little thing I will add, which is becoming a problem. Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody. One thing we have succeeded in doing is making a lot of young people, the Gen Zs and some even outside of it, even some millennials, to think that, you know, honesty doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Hard work doesn't pay. If you want to get access to money,
compromise.
Use the shortest ways, fair or foul. Back in the day where you felt, I must study hard, and if I do, I'll be the best student, or I must do this. No. All of those are down the drain. So now you would see the young people. A friend was telling me a story of a young lady who had got into a certain company, and she went and spoke to the boss and said, I mean, give me a roadmap how I can get to your office in the next 3 to 5 or maximum 10 years. And the boss told her, it took me over 20 years to get here. The mindset is shortcut, because that is what the leaders are showing to them. You see somebody who has nothing in government 1 year, 2 years. The person has 3 buildings. How long will it take you to do that? Maybe 100 years, you will not be able to do that. So that's the example we've set.
I think Peter Obi of Nigeria says something that whenever you see a country where the politicians are richer than the businessmen, then there's a problem. And I think that is where we are presently in Ghana.
Now, the problems we have in this country is not that we don't know how to fix them. It's simply a lack of will. When you talk of corruption, galamsey, unemployment, all the issues we have, even electricity, all of it, inflation. You cannot tell me that we don't know what policy framework can work to arrest the cedi to prevent this consistent depreciation. It's just a lack of will, because when they frustrate us like this, they make money at the back of it. I don't understand why issues as simple as this, roads, and the danger with this lack of light on the street is that if you are a driver, you want to see. So you put on your highlights and then you blind the person coming, and then it's just disastrous. It's just a lack of will to do right by the country, which is why everybody wants to leave the country.
But you know why it is so?
Let's get into your papers.
You know why it is so, briefly?
Yeah.
It is not about knowledge. It is about being ethical. So who is it, Francis Schaeffer, who said that when you educate a criminal, you've only multiplied his chances of stealing, of engagement. So we have a lot of knowledgeable people who do not have the character needed to do what must be done. And that's why, I mean, I'm a Christian. Jesus said the heart of man is desperately wicked.
Right.
So until we as people look out for people who have the character, not necessarily people who waddle intelligent or sound intelligent. We saw the public lectures.
Going back to saying vote for a Christian leader, is that
not a Christian leader, but a Christ-like leader?
Right.
So we've heard the public lectures of the past. What are we seeing? So it's not about blah, 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 blah. No, it's about when we check your track record. That's why in the past, for someone to even be promoted in the military and other places, they go as far back as to your primary school. What was his character like in primary school, in junior high school, in senior high school? If they see a certain consistent thread, that means that this guy has the character that can be used to develop a nation, to build. But now, shortcuts, and we put people there, and greed does not do right.
Courage, let's
Never.
get into this.
All right, thank you. I think I have the finder here, and it says 459,291 voters registered. And I'll read that shortly. It says the Electoral Commission, EC, has successfully registered 459,291 first-time voters in the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. And it gives the regional breakdown. And I think Ashanti region is leading with some 81,163, followed by Greater Accra 62,000, Central region 49,000, Eastern region 44,000, all the way to I think Savannah region, which has a half region, which has 10,073 lowest. But the gender dimension is what is interesting. 53% are female and 46.9% male. So it means that we're going to see more females voting, even among the younger ones. But connected to that is a second story that says that 2 Togolese arrested for attempting to register as voters. I think it should be far higher, knowing what the party is. But it says
the number is higher than that.
Yes.
Maybe this is only for
Finder
the
is
story,
reporting
but
to you.
yeah.
It says 2 Togolese nationals were arrested by the police in the Boem constituency of the Jasikan district for allegedly attempting to register as voters in the ongoing voter registration exercise. The arrest occurred on Sunday, May 19, 2024, around 4 p.m. I think I can imagine that
a week more to go in this limited voter
registration exercise. But one interesting story here, and I'm interested because it shows our character as a nation. Mepe flood victims accuse VRA NADMO of neglect. Mepe. 8 months after the Volta River Authority's water spillage from the Akosombo Dam, the humanitarian crisis in Degome, Mepe, is escalating with over 200 flood victims still languishing in makeshift tents. Over 200 victims are still languishing. I picked this story because we are not thorough. We don't follow through. So we are interventionists. Touch and go, touch and go, touch and go. And it shows in every aspect.
We've had conversations with some of them in the studio. Yeah. Many of them are still suffering. Members of parliament still struggling to get stuff for them. Banana farmers and others who have lost. It's not just people who have lost their houses and stuff.
Business.
Livelihoods, gone. Everything, investments, gone. How do we revitalize, resuscitate such businesses? No plan, no clear plan.
One of the things that worries me about NADMO says National Disaster Management Organization, right? Disaster management. Disaster management begins from planning. So look at how we plan our spaces. There are places that are now developing, and we are planning them for disaster, basically, because we are not planning. We sell land that is not serviced. We sell plots of land. People buy and build anyhow.
Building waterways.
Waterways. We allow that to happen. So
people are building on slopes. McCarthy Hills going into
so you
all
sit
those
down
places where they shouldn't.
They shouldn't, because that's one of the most active volcano areas.
Seismic areas.
Yes. My point is that you don't watch some development to go on, that we can all know that this will lead to disaster. And then when it happens, you now send mattress, bedsheet, buckets, and say you are managing it. But always, the cash is in the procurement.
Oh, yes.
And that's why
sometimes,
we are reactionary.
Sometimes disaster must happen for somebody to get his...
So you are creating the disaster to benefit from it. Yes. That's what it looks like the officialdom is doing. Daily Democrats...
We look at Benjamin's papers now. We are pressed for time.
Is there a headline you want to do? We will not look at the story.
There's a headline. I was joking. It's actually the banner headline.
The vice president.
Yes, I was joking, but we are on incentivizing churches. We will involve traditional leaders in the granting of mining licenses, President Mahama. Then women and family demonstrate against Nana Agrada. I think Daily Democrat has probably 70% of all that is wrong with our country, on its front page. Whenever I hear the vice president talk, I get chills. And I get chills because it's scary. It's scary.
when Dr. Baumia talks is scary.
It's scary.
Why?
The things that he says is unthinkable. You would have thought that for someone who is in office, has access to all the information available, he
doesn't have the steering wheel. He's not the president.
I think he was giving...
The president himself has said the buck stops with him.
No, but again, that adds to what I was talking about, the dishonesty and all of that, because in one breath, he's the best performing vice president ever. In another breath, he's not in charge. So how did he do what he did? I'm not in charge, so obviously I cannot take credit for anything that is happening, you know. But if I can take credit, that means that I have control. I'm in charge to a certain point and all of that. But you see, public service is very serious business. And so one of the things, particularly that I have learned, even more deeper, working with Honorable Elijah Martin, is being strategic. Being strategic and being thoughtful and mindful at every point in time, every single step. We've learned of other jurisdictions where when the president is outside, even the number of steps he takes before he turns, and it's all calculated.
Yeah. Right.
How much more what is said and promised?
Okay.
I think it is counterproductive for our democracy to have leaders who say things without thinking through them.
Okay.
And that's why President Mahama, I cannot trust his promises on Galamsey.
Okay.
The current phase of Galamsey we see started with him, 2013. And he did nothing about it. And now he's saying that traditionally, and see, they are not even able to give you bold and truly implementable solutions that will solve the problem.
Bold solutions for the future?
Oh, no. You can't talk about...
I mean, where I realized that this was going nowhere was when we were told I would put my presidency on the line. And we are where we are.
Here we are.
I guess with the politicians, whenever I am on board with you, whenever our politicians, NDC, NPP, talk about Galamsey, I am indifferent to what they say.
Yeah.
I take it with a pinch of salt because we see what we see under NDC and the NPP. So you can say that, oh, maybe it is worse or better. But like you said, it is not in the worse or the better. It is in eradicating and ensuring that the systems. We've been told that our water bodies, if we stopped Galamsey today, it would take about a century, 100 years for our water bodies. And we are still going on. So what's the business? And now we've moved from maybe Milo to black tea.
It's part of the problem with the political parties. You see, most of these people doing this, other party constituency chairmen, party financiers, and that is the problem. So how do you bite the hand that feeds you?
Yeah. Anyway, let me just wrap with the daily graphic. I'll just skim through. 3i Summit records big deals, $100 million for SMEs in Ghana. Bank of Ghana reports on ECD success, ECD. All of that is in there. Then on the back page, Ediana overpower Hearts in Accra, Brekum Chelsea stun Kotoko. Charlie, it's not looking good. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, 10th on the league log after 30 matches. And then Hearts evoke 12th. Nah, something. But let's celebrate those teams. Samatex on top, Nations FT second, Ediana third, Mediama SC fourth, and Swatriman fifth. Bichem United 6th, Accra Lions 7th. Let's celebrate the little, the new teams that are also making strides. But then, public-private sectors must align for growth, Banaman Abbott says so. Urban air quality project underway. Stories on page 16. On page 17, mitigating impact of heavy rainfall. There are places in this country, we are back in the rainy season. If it rains for 2 minutes, those places will start flooding. But what I'm going to leave you with, before I do a birthday quickly. Recently, there was that incident where Alan was it in Kumasi? And some would say he gave a bombastic side eye to Chairman Wontumi. Chairman Wontumi was going for, and Alan didn't pass her. Why did Alan do that? I don't know.
I think I saw the footage. I wasn't in Kumasi with
I saw Alan
I saw the footage. I think it's one of his security detail for this attention. And when you're on these movements...
At that very moment when he was going to shake
every single prompting... No, you see, you, the individual, you're there, right? You are being managed and directed.
Oh, I agree.
Your security detail determine everything you do. If you don't go by their cue, you may have a challenge. So what I saw, I know that particular one was a security detail called his attention and he was attending to him. And at that very particular point in time, we saw the outstretched arm of Chairman Wontumi. I'm sure he saw him coming down. I don't think.
But the hand, Chairman Wuntumi's hand remained there for a while.
He could have been a bit more patient, and I'm sure he would finish his prompting in there.
Okay, it's a wrap.
Patience is a virtue.
It's a wrap for us. Some Arsenal fans are threatening me online. It's just a joke, though. My friend sends a message. He says they may do something. I'll not mention it. I'll see you, Kafui. I'll look for you. But someone comes underneath and says, Wolves will win the league before Arsenal. In other words, before Arsenal wins again, then maybe Wolverhampton Wanderers would have won. A happy birthday, glorious happy birthday to the National Children's Ministry Secretary of the Apostolic Church Ghana, Deaconess Mabi Abena Frimpoma. May the good Lord bless you with the good fruits of the land. May he satisfy you with long life and good health and make you great. Stay highly favored. And it's from the Children's Ministry of the Apostolic Church Ghana. Happy birthday, Deaconess Mami Abena Frimpoma. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Deaconess.
Yeah. She's your deaconess, eh?
No, I'm not in a part, but listening to what she's doing a very important job. You know, the next generation.
Children's ministry.
Crucial. And making sure that they have the right ethical behavior for the future. Maybe that's where we can have a lot of hope. You know, so.
Courage Nobi, thank you for joining the conversation. He is Deputy Director of Communications, Alliance for Revolutionary Change. This segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're ending with us. If you're a man, prostate screening. If you're a woman, fertility screening. They're offering these to you for free. Reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra. Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronomu Abwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrady Anaji State, Tema, Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zima. Their call lines 0244 867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, but just the beginning of the taunting of Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans. Charlie, 2nd to 20th, no trophy. Sports is up next. Welcome back on the AM show. We hit our big stories. I may be smiling, but there's nothing to laugh about. The issue we're going to talk about is a crucial one. Over 2.4 million Ghanaians are living with diabetes and its death-threatening consequences. Yes, you heard me right. It is said to be accounting for some 65% of deaths in the country. Now, you could blame it on lifestyle choices. You could blame it on heredity or natural causes. The danger these non-communicable diseases pose is real as it reduces the quality of life of many people. Today, we contemplate the occurrence, causes, management, and prevention of diabetes. Now, mind you, it's your health, it's your life, and you don't want to miss this conversation. Now, joining us this morning in the studio, we have Dr. Beatrice Baye. She is a physician specialist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. She joins me in the studio. We also have Anthony Avege. He is a pharmacist, clinical pharmacist at the Trust Hospital. Joining the conversation as well, virtually, Dr. Ifua Kome. She's Program Manager, Non-Communicable Disease Control at the Ghana Health Service. And we also have Evans Selame Adra. He's a registered dietitian. So it's a full component we've put together. Causes, management, how to even prevent yourself from getting there. I mean, there are lifestyle issues and others that we can look at. But let me quickly find out those who are joining us virtually, whether I have the full contingent. All right, so we'll get them on and then I will acknowledge them. But Doc and Senior Avege, good morning.
Good morning.
This has become a scary menace. And everywhere you pass, now it's not, you know, back then how it used to be, oh, people of a certain age bracket, 50 plus, 60 plus. Now, 20-something-year-olds. In fact, somewhere close to me in a church, a 26 or so year old gone recently on the back of kidney-related issues. And we know that diabetes is one of those comorbidities. Let me just acknowledge Evans Adra. He's a registered dietitian. Evans, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. How did we get here? Because usually when you look at places like the United States, among others, obesity and certain things, you would see that there was a trend and they're addressing it. So I'm going to ask you both as well, how did we get here? Doc, I'll start with you.
Okay. Thank you for having us this morning. It looks like we are just copying the Western world as well. You mentioned the fact that obesity is on a high trend. It's the same thing that is happening in Ghana here. In Ghana, we are copying every aspect of their life, including their food.
Yeah.
And now, too, there are lots of
You mean junk food?
A lot. And is as a result of now we are all busy. Everyone is busy. We don't even have time to look after ourselves. That is, even you yourself, sorry for using you. Maybe you come to work around 7 a.m. You are not able to take your breakfast. You get home around 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. You are now going to eat. Yeah. And immediately you finish eating, you are going to sleep. Yeah. That is all part of the sedentary life. And diabetes is one of the risk factors is sedentary life. Yeah. Which I think...
So it's sedentary. You are sitting most of the time. Let's say
no activity, you are eating.
You are sitting at work throughout the day.
You are eating all the carbohydrates and all that. Then no exercise at all. You go to bed. All these are the risk factors. A time will come, you end up with the diabetes, especially if there's a family history of it as well. Yeah. So I think all these are the things that is causing the diabetes to rise in our country as well.
For you, Mr. Avega?
Yeah, so like Dr. Beatrice said, essentially it's about urbanization, it's about aging population, it's about obesity, overweight, and of course, inactivity. No exercise, nothing. And my greatest fear is for the children. I'm sure doctor will confirm. My greatest fear is for kids. Yeah. You know, now
child obesity is also on the rise. I mean, everything, like she said, we're copying everything. Child obesity, you see some of them, and you can tell that
this guy, it's Well, you stay in maybe Adenta. Your kids, you bring them to Accra for school. They sit in the car. They close. They are sleeping. When they get home, they even eat in the car. No exercise. Weekends, they're on the computers and all, nothing. We used to walk to work, to school. Used to, and then we would do all that. When we come back, we'll play soccer and stuff. But these days, it's all about IT, computer. So, no doubt, we are there.
And I keep saying that, look, parents, look out, because yes, you want to. I teach Sunday school, and there was a time where I went, parents are so eager now to give, the child is bawling, crying, phone.
Get it.
Let them play. Let them do something. It's exercise. Now, phone. So they become used to it. They want to sit all the time. What happens? They're going to. But someone just whispered something funny into my ear that, Charlie, Kroba issue, na kakrana ye dino yanko exercise. If you are not free. That's just on the lighter note. Let me bring in the other guests as well. Also joining the conversation, we have Dr. Efua Kome, Program Manager, Non-Communicable Disease Control at the Ghana Health Service. Dr. Kome, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
It's really good to have you join the conversation as well. But let me bring in Evans Adra first, and then I'll come back to you, Dr. Kome. Evans, in terms of diets, Doc has already started in the studio talking about eating late, eating a lot of carb. Oftentimes that balance is not there, and you're eating, and before 3 hours are over, you are in bed, and it's a repetitive cycle. But what would you say about our specific diets in Ghana and how it could be contributing to the sharp rise in diabetes?
Right. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I want to use this opportunity to say good morning to your cherished listeners and viewers across the country. When we look at the dietary practices of most Ghanaians, you realize that there is a gradual shift from the intake of natural food products to the intake of artificial, if you like, food-like products. And examples, we are looking at our pastries, we are looking at our soft drinks or carbonated drinks. We are also looking at higher intake of complex carbs such as our starches. Now, the truth is that we always have to be aware of the dangers or the consequences associated with the intake of these processed foodstuffs. And so, in the days of old, we were not having so much carbonated or fizzy drinks in our system. But then, currently speaking, you realize that every provision shop, almost every provision shop that you get to, you may have some, arrangement of these carbonated drinks and so on. This is the hot dogs are hitting the market. We are looking at our shawarmas hitting the market. So people's taste for the natural food that have changed gradually over time, and they are resorting to the intake of these junk food products. The truth is that these junk food products are energy dense. They contain a lot of energy. Most of them, after consumption, they don't need to be digested. Usually, if somebody should eat kinky, eat banku, fufu, and so on, it will require between 2.5 hours to 3 hours for complete breakdown or digestion to occur. But if you take the carbonated drinks and some of the pastries, they are already in the simplest form, which we term as glucose. So the moment they are consumed, the truth is that straight away they are absorbed into the bloodstream. And once they are absorbed, you realize that the blood glucose level will go up. Insulin comes in to convert them to immediate storage, which has to do with our glycogen. Then you are looking at short-term storages, such as the fat and then the cholesterol. So the continuous consumption of these junk foods increases people's energy intake, which in most cases are not utilized. Every individual has, a 30 calorie amount of calories to be consumed in a day. So the more we isolate ourselves from the intake of our vegetables, our fruits, our seeds, our nuts, and so on, and we are resorting to the intake of these junk food products, our energy intake will increase. Then we are not, doing any activity as it used to be in the old. Doc mentioned that we are sedentary all along. So there will be a pile-up in terms of the energy. Fat will come in, cholesterol will come in. People will put on, which has to do with obesity and overweight. And obesity is at the center, just as has been mentioned by Doc earlier on. And this is what is causing or contributing to the sharp rise or increase in the prevalence of diabetes within the country. So diet has a major role to play when it comes to this. And then, of course, we have to look at other associated factors like stress. Just as the doc was mentioning earlier on, these days people are emotionally stressed. They devote all their time to work, but they don't have ample time to look after themselves, to rest, to engage in any form of physical activity. So sedentary lifestyle is also a major contribution. In the days of old, people have been hypothesizing that our parents, grandfathers, and mothers, they used to eat a lot of starchy foods. Right. But the truth is that in their days, they were very active. Most of them were farmers. Before they get to the farm, they would have walked several miles away before they get to the farm.
Right.
When they get to the farm, they are not going to sit. They will work, they will weed, they will carry objects. So in as much as they were eating so much, they were putting the energy to use.
Right.
And there was no need for storage, such as fat, cholesterol, which will result in obesity. But in our days, it is not like that. Today, Somebody can sit right in his or her house and order for Bolt, order for Uber. The shortest distance to be walked, they will not do so. So these are some of the things we have to be concerned of as far as diet and diabetes is concerned.
Dr. Kome, let me come to you because there's an interesting trend, a very negative one. It points to the fact that in low and middle income countries, diabetes is seeing a high prevalence level. The spike is very high. You work with the Ghana Health Service. Can you explain why in our specific context this is happening here? I have a message that comes through, for example, that says, from one Mario Obing, we're trying to live like the white man. That is why we're suffering today. We need to go back and act like Africans. Is that it?
Well, thank you very much. And let me also say good morning to our fellow experts on the line. To some extent, I would agree with what our the contribution the person just made, that we are trying to live as the white person. However, it's the aspect of these things is a combination of multiple factors. It's not.
Dr. Kome, please, the connection is not that good. I don't know where you are, whether you are in motion, but if you could just reposition yourself so we can hear you better, I'd be very grateful.
Is it better now?
It's better. It's better. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I mentioned that it's a combination of factors, lifestyle being key among them. Generally, across the globe, there's this transitioning where people are moving more and more towards unhealthier lifestyle. As we are progressing as a people, we are also adopting these lives by virtue of the circumstances we find around us. I mean, our previous contributors just talked about the diet. Just yes, you wouldn't find a new fast food joint. Even in Ghana, sometimes just carrot can find some fast joints.
Dr. Kome, here's what we're going to do. We're going to reattempt a connection with you and see whether the connection will be better, just so we can get everything you're saying, because if it's lost in transition, then it becomes problematic. But let me come back into the studio. Dr. Bai, so quite a number of factors have been laid out, but I want some understanding, even before we get into some of what could be causing this. When we talk about diabetes, fundamentally, what does it mean? And then all this talk about type 1, type 2, break it down for us.
Okay. Diabetes in a layman term just means that high sugars in your blood. High sugars in your blood. Then...
and just to clarify, these sugars, because even if you take mashke without sugar, the kenke will get into your body and the carbohydrates. What is the thing? Because sometimes when people, even in chi, so sometimes there's a lot of confusion about, is it that when you take a lot of sweet stuff, what is it?
Okay, not necessarily. Whatever you take in it, at the end of the day, it will be converted to sugar in your blood. So it doesn't necessarily have to be you taking in a lot of sugar. Whatever you eat, it will be converted to sugar in the body. When we say diabetes, it's just high sugar in the blood. There are cutoff values that we won't discuss that. But the whole thing about diabetes is, if you've ever lived in the village, you remember when the king wants to relay information to the people, there's this gong beater that he sends. So take it as there's something called insulin. And the insulin is going to be the gong beater. And the information will be the sugar. So immediately you eat, then there is sugar in the blood. The insulin comes in and kind of relay information to the other cells that there is sugar. You come and pick yours. It's just the same as the gong.
So it's into distribution.
Just kind of. So the types that you mentioned, there are several types, but we'll limit to the type 1, type 2 as well. So the type 1, if the gong beta, it's not there, it's not present, it's absent. So type 1, usually the insulin is absent. If that gong beta is absent, there will be no information for the cells to pick up the sugar. Then the type 2, yes.
So what then happens?
So
it remains concentrated on one.
Yes, it will stay in the blood.
Okay.
So you need an insulin for the other cells to pick it up.
So for the regulation distribution.
Yes, for it to work in the blood, for it to work at the other places. But if the insulin, which I said you can use the gong beta as the insulin, if it is absent, the sugars will stay in the blood. That is the type 1, absence of the sugar, of the insulin. The type 2, your insulin is there, but it is not working well.
Okay.
Just like the same analogy. If the gong beta is there, he's sick. There's no way that he can go and relay the information. So the type 2, you have the insulin in abundance, but just that it is not working well.
Okay. Let's take a quick look at this before I come to Mr. Avege. Are there any known causes? I know that there's no cure, so to speak. It could be inherited, but what are the core triggers as medical doctors that you are seeing, the patterns? We've spoken about some of them. What are the others? That's for you still.
Oh, okay.
Just briefly before I go to Mr. Avege.
So with diabetes, we have this thing that we call modifiable risk factors and then non-modifiable. The non-modifiable, there's nothing you can do about it. If there's a family history of diabetes in a third-degree relative, you're at risk of having it.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it runs in the family. There are some genetic aspects of it. Then also the mere fact that you're race, there's nothing that you can do about it. But the modifiable risk factors, that's the ones that we've spoken so far. That's the diet, the fact if you have hypertension, that one it can be controlled with medications. Then if you have high cholesterol, that one can be controlled with medications as well. Sedentary lifestyle, which we've mentioned. Exercising. That one too, there's something that you can do about it as well.
Are Africans more prone? I know some cancers like prostate issues. Are we more prone? And yes, the matter is becoming. Are we more prone?
Yes.
We are, unfortunately. So even more reason for you to take care of yourself. When someone's likelihood is, let's say, 30% and yours is 50%, you know that you have to put in more. But let me come to you, Mr. Avege. Then it comes to dealing with some of these from the medical perspective. Are there even any medications that sometimes we take, unfortunately, that could give us issues that could lead to diabetes?
Oh, yeah, that's true. There are yes, quite some number of medications. That which comes readily is the steroids.
Steroids?
Yes. You know, like I think recently I heard in the news, we're advising the women to stop bleaching with steroid creams and stuff. Yeah, so if you abuse, if you're on steroids for quite some time, yeah, your sugars are bound to step up. So,
you are bleaching and you are diabeting at the same time because you are calling on diabetes to approach you.
Yes. So that is one thing we need to look at. So if the doctor was prescribing a steroid for you, because it's being managed by a doctor, you are sure that the doctor balances the act, you know, so that you do whatever necessary. So if you abuse steroids, you are in for trouble. Then, of course, some other medications that can make you, especially those who are at risk, can push you into that bracket. Otherwise, the number one culprit is steroids.
So beyond that, I'm sure some people too would be curious because unwittingly, sometimes people take stuff, and this is where over-the-counter drugs, you have to be careful because you may be taking something and it's pushing you somewhere before you realize it. You're on the cusp of diabetes. Can you give us an idea, even if you don't want to mention specifically, what are some of these? Are they over-the-counter drugs?
No, actually, steroids, you wouldn't...
No, not the steroids, the other bits that you...
No, not exactly, but you see, these days, like if you go to a pharmacy, people who work hard, the construction staff, big-time farmers, I mean, those who do physical job, they'll come... When I used to work a lot in a community, they will say, they call it some way. So they'll give you
I even thought you were going to mention tramadol because people don't
not
because that one.
They give you a prednisolone, they give you some Indocid, they give you something, you take it, and the next day it's like you never had pain, so you go back to work. And if you do this constantly, then you know you are in trouble.
Wow.
So basically, that is it. Steroids, of course, are not over-the-counter medications.
Right, I know.
So, but, you know, people go around, abuse, cut corners. You know, these days, you know, just like every profession is having some Mensa in there, you go to pharmacies, sometimes they don't ask all the necessary questions.
Right.
You need this, you are given. You need that, you are given. But, well, we are trying to work out something like that. So I think Doc also, you know, I always say, funny, it's like joke. You know, at the diabetes clinic, I said there's one thing you can do to reverse your diabetes. You know that, Ben?
What is that?
Yeah, reverse, change your parents.
Change your parents, yes. Impossible.
It's impossible. If you change your parents, you have, like you said, first degree, you have parents who are, just change them. If you change them, then of course, into a non-diabetic patient, parent, then you are good to go.
Well,
it's not possible.
He's subtly telling you that it is what it is. And maybe those as well who want to build muscle mass and you're doing steroids, you might want to watch it because you build the muscle and you take it to an early grave. Yeah. God forbid. Let me bring back Dr. Kome. Can you hear me, Doc?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm sorry about the connection and how it's been acting this morning. We have no control over that. I was asking a question about the spike in low to middle income countries and at least from the perspective of the Ghana Health Service, what do you see in the specific case of Ghana?
Absolutely. So for us, the data that we gather largely has to do with people who have come to various hospitals across the country. So you have about district hospitals, health centers come together with a clinic, both public and private facilities. So largely cover 5,000 majority of across the country. Recently, hospitals started providing COVID health information. And can see the across the numbers that report diabetes are good together.
Hey, Dr. Kome, I'm sorry I have to do this again. Still, the connection is not. I even just had to check from the studio whether my guests could also hear you. It appears we can't hear you well, and I don't know. But I'll let the technical team get on this one more time. We'll see how we can remedy the situation. I sincerely apologize for that. Please hold for us while we work on that. Let me bring in Evans Adra. So in some instances, if it is hereditary, you're in a fix, there's not much you can do, at least that component disadvantages you, then you must look at your diet, you must look at other factors to try and stay safe. Beyond what you've mentioned, on the dietary level, our staples in Ghana, we take a lot of carb, but how can you make the carb work for you? Are people taking balanced diets? We have so many carb-related diets, the TZs, the fufus, the kokontes, everything, rice, everywhere you go, carbs. What would be your suggestion for us in terms of still having our carbs, but staying healthy and something that can burn quickly in the body in terms of metabolism? What would be your advice?
Thank you so much. In the diet domain, one great recommendation I will make would be to cut down on the starches. And the
cut down on what?
On starches, the starches. So by starches, I mean things or products that are coming from maize, our whole grains, our rice, our wheat, and so on. We have to do our best to reduce them in terms of the portion that takes the plate. We have to make sure we cut down on that. Then, once we cut
but
down...
But on a lighter note, people will tell you, Charlie, comedy, yo. I remember, I'm just being, let me poke a joke here. At a point, because the cholesterol, there are two different kinds, right?
Bad and a good one.
Right, yeah. One of them was slightly high. Everything was perfect, just that one. And they said, oh, go on a diet. I said, okay, went to this dietitian. And, we looked at my diets. Then he started talking about grapes, for example. And he said, oh, if you're going to have them, you have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I said, hey, doctor. Just reminds me of that. When you talk of portions, more like, hey, why do you want me to die? Exactly. Doc, just you go ahead.
Yeah. So, let me clarify this. Now, people think that satiety can only come from the intake of, for example, a lot of fufu, 5 balls, 6 balls of fufu, a lot of the kenke, 5 balls, 6 balls of the kenke, about 7 steaming ladles of rice, wati, and so on. Satiety, in terms of nutrition, does not only come from the intake of our starches alone. And so, by cutting down on our whole grains, and then on our starches, products from cassava, from yam, from cocoyam, and so on, there is the need to do a replacement. Now, the replacement we can do is that once we reduce the portions for the starches, we make sure that the soup, the accompaniment, goes up. So if somebody is taking banku with soup, for example, the soup, if it is with okra stew or okra soup, the person tries to have more of the okra soup or more of the okra stew than the banku itself. Now, if the same person is having a rice dish, what can be done is that the stew should be more as compared to the rice itself. So practically speaking, how then do we make the stew or the soup bulky? One of the things we can do is to make sure that we incorporate vegetables into their preparations. Now, for example, if an individual is preparing light soup or granite soup or palm nut soup, we have our green leafy vegetables. So we are talking about our kontomire, we are talking about our ayuyu. We are also looking at our fruit vegetables like the okra, the garden eggs, and so on. Now, these ones are very high in dietary fiber.
Right.
Now, what dietary fiber does is that it slows down the digestive process so that the rate of sugar liberation or glucose liberation from the starches is not rapid. And if that is not rapid, it means that the quantity of sugar or glucose that can be absorbed into the bloodstream is not going to be copious in amount at a go. So that is one key thing we can look at, to incorporate the vegetables into our stews, into our stews. Now, if you put aside slowing down the digestive process, we were talking about satiety issues. Now, one
so
thing
basically satisfaction.
Dietary fiber does,
right,
in terms of the vegetable, is that it adds bulk to the food. And when the food is bulky, it increases the rate of satiety. Now, the same vegetables which contain our dietary fiber, one thing they do is that most of them have what you call hydrophilic head, which enable them to retain a lot of water. And for people who take in that, you realize that their water intake increases. They don't get hungry very quickly to go ahead and buy or fall on any of the junk food.
Right.
So if we can look at it from this perspective, we can be able to defeat all the other mechanisms, if not all, some of the risk factors which can predispose an individual to getting the diabetes. We can find a way to massage it. Just as Doc has said, diet is one of the modifiable risk factors when it comes to diabetes management.
Okay.
And if we can massage it this way, we are sure to prevent ourselves from getting diabetes.
These are interesting revelations. So satiety, satisfaction, basically. You don't need to. And one thing I've noticed, people don't try adding a lot of veggies to their meals. I love tomatoes, for example. I love veggies generally. And a bit of them added to other components. You eat a little bit of the carb, a lot more of those. I prefer fish to meat. And you are good to go. But sometimes you want the fufu. I say grewa, nesi wenim. Aha. That one, you are looking for trouble. But there's something else before we address cost issues, and I'll find out later whether the connection is better with Dr. Kome. But there's also this bit, gestational diabetes. Some women in the course of pregnancy are developing hypertension, diabetes, so many things. And for some of them, even after pregnancy, the problem with diabetes persists. Yeah. How about that?
Okay, so the gestational diabetes just mean that they are usually diagnosed during pregnancy. Some of them is just coincidental that it's during the pregnancy that they end up being diabetic. Probably they were diabetic, but just that it just happened that they went to the hospital and it was during the pregnancy that they had it. That one will be pre-gestational. But there are some, it's just the mere fact that you're pregnant. There are some hormones that are released during the pregnancy that makes the insulin not function properly. So eventually they end up being diabetic in pregnancy. Right. And if it's indeed just the gestational diabetes, when the baby comes out, it's resolved in a certain percentage of patients, but others it persists.
So here's what I'm curious about. Someone may have the hereditary whatever, but the person doesn't have it yet. But by virtue of getting pregnant, those triggers come in and then the person ends up with it. Is that also an explanation?
Yes, we can use that as well.
Hey, now, wow. Anyway, Mr. Avege, so there's also the bit about cost. Dealing with these illnesses, non-communicable, yes, but there's a whole lot in there. So the different stages of dealing with diabetes, what are the cost factors to take stock of?
As for cost,
hey, the way you started is not encouraging.
Yeah, not at all. It's a big issue. But yesterday I was talking to a colleague of mine who they deal directly with, bringing the medications to town, and he was telling me there are 19 lines of tax. Okay, so 19 lines of taxes you need to.
19 lines of taxes, yes. on medication
imports, on imports.
Wow.
So whether you import A or B, inclusive medications, 19. Then of course, our CD, the way it misbehaves. So if you take those two things, obviously, then it boils down to the fundamentals. So essentially, cost because of taxes, cost because of our CD that depreciates uncontrollably. So if these two things can be adequately taken care of, then we are sure that, it can be somewhat affordable. Otherwise, and what also happens is that in trying to cut costs, others also try to bring in things that may be cheaper. Like Dr. Bayo will tell you, the person goes out to buy those cheaper things, and he or she comes the next day, and the A1C is like...
So worse off.
It's worse off.
Are we talking here when you say cheaper? Is it just maybe the components that are not there, or are we talking generic versus
Oh, some generics.
What's the other term? Generic and what?
The brand.
Yes, brand.
Yes.
I mean,
some generics are good. Some generics you can vouch for them.
Right.
You know, but not all generics. Some the component is there, but it's like you take
the percentage is so small.
Not even small. You take it and it never breaks down to release the metformin to get into the system to work. It's just stuck there. It takes forever to disintegrate, to break down, for absorption to take place, for the effect to be seen. So,
and we know that the brands too tend to be sometimes 3 times, 4 times more expensive in some cases.
In some cases.
Most cases.
Yeah, most cases. So, a friend of mine said, well, people buy guns, they don't complain. When they are buying branded products, medication, they complain. So look at that. But essentially, it just boils down to the taxes and the CD. If institutions can take care of these 2 things for us, then we'll be happy. Then of course,
if institutions could take care of, don't lose your train of thought on the second bit you were about to say.
If institutions that govern or take care of our CD, our taxes, can handle this properly, then we are sure that the cost can.
How about the NHIS?
Well, NHIS can't. Of course, NHIS, they stock some little brands, but not. They stock some, but not. So you made me lose my thought.
That's why I said don't lose it, and you've lost it.
Yes,
I'm so sorry. You've remembered now.
Yes, I have. Okay. Then, of course, I think if institutions can also support, we have industries in town. If we can empower them, give them some leverage, so maybe they could coordinate or partner with these brands so that they can have same standard across board, Then
but manufactured locally,
exactly.
less cost,
and all that. And then we can have a way. And also, our insurance company, especially the private insurance companies, sometimes it's so funny. I mean, I pay so much for private insurance, and then you go to the hospital, the doctor gives you a brand product, and they complain. You don't understand. Meanwhile, you are paying good cash. So the doctor writes, okay, for example, instead of doing, let's do it this way, TB. TB has 4 medications, the first phase, 4 put together. So these days, it reduces pill burden. These days, all medications have been put together so that after taking your medication, do not be like you've had breakfast, So those things come at a cost. So now metformin being boxed with another one, So you take one, you get one free, so to speak. So you reduce your medication, pill burden stuff. But they are expensive. So if basically the cost, taxes, CD can be handled, if these institutions can handle these things appropriately, then of course we are good to go. Then also trying to do some locally. It brings some joy into the care.
There was a thought I had that just skipped my mind, but a quick one because I want to go to the other guests as well. Very quickly, averagely, someone who has diabetes, I don't know whether we're breaking down to type 1 or type 2, but averagely, how much would they be spending on medication and other treatments in a month? Averagely.
Well, okay, it depends. For also type 1 is basically insulin. You can't do otherwise. Okay? If you do type 2, well,
so insulin, about how many shots in a month? How much likely would that cost?
The insulin, okay, Dr. Bai will tell you for type 1, they are doing maybe a basal insulin and then also preprandial. When you want to eat, then you take a shot. So you need for a month, depending on the units you do, you might be doing around 600, 700, something Ghana cedis or more. Let's say approximately 1,000.
I think Doc is pulling a protest here. Are you pulling a protest? Is it more? Is it likely more?
Let's say approximately 1,000.
Okay,
yeah.
Now you're in the ballpark because Doc, I could tell from her face she was like,
yeah, approximately 1,000. If you do orals, Of course, or else you do maybe an SU, a metformin, and if you are not fortunate, doctor will say, Charlie, your A1C is not slowing down, so top it up with an insulin. Then your guess is good as mine.
And if you have this, and that's the next issue I'll be going to, if you have diabetes, and it also gives you kidney-related matters.
And also if it gives the men ED. Forgotten about that.
Erectile dysfunction?
Yeah.
Hey. Take care of yourself, because the thing, where they go. Let's try Dr. Kome one more time. I know we're facing some challenges. We apologize for that. Dr. Kome, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can.
I think you're much clearer now. So I'll just leave you to react to some of what we've been... I'm sure you've followed the conversation. You can hear us, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What would be some of your reactions? Why are we here in terms of the prevalence rates, and what is the Ghana Health Service doing as far as these non-communicable diseases are concerned?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that generally our experts have appropriately listed most of the issues that we are facing as a country. Within the Ghana Health Service, we are looking at facilities across all 151 states. And we can say that we do have months of morbidity returns. The people come every, and it's stated across the, and we can practically say numbers are just on the rise. Now, I just to add the first component that you were talking about. When Dr. mentioned I also found that 4 years, around every about 1,000 people. However, we also have to emphasize on the indirect cost, loss of man hours to work, the cost of the caregivers. Because when a patient starts sitting in, who needs like round the clock caregivers, and these caregivers will also be their family members, parents or relatives who also dedicate their time to care for the sick person. And whilst they are doing that, they've also neglected their work, they've also left their families, and there's so much emotional strain the caregivers. Well, there are times where the caregivers are coming up with things such as potential. Yeah, it's an emotional drain on them. So their blood pressures are going up. If you are not lucky, and their blood sugars are behaving, their diabetes is also going to set. By virtue of the fact that now they are so a core piece of the care being provided the primary disease. So the first sort of the wide theory, I couldn't agree with doctors. The least can do as a country for our patients is to ensure at least the cost of their medicine is adequately brought down such that what's the point somebody to have these 5% and you have that for life? The fear, how affects the money? Because they are any medicine for life. Unfortunately, there are voices in the community that are also preaching cure. So when somebody loudspeaker blasting messages that if you have some cure it, and the doctor is telling him that, oh, this money can be managed. Obviously, I will start looking at alternatives. So it's crucial that we address these chronic diseases because it's a huge burden on us as a country.
Right.
We are working with other partners to ensure that we can actually quantify our losses in terms of GDP. Now we are just talking numbers, but it has a lot more implications on our system. So as a service, we continue to engage partners, we continue to create the awareness. But believe it or not, we are in Timecodes in the Bono East now, creating awareness on diabetes and hypertension and training the primary health care providers. Even some health workers up to now do not believe children can get diabetes.
Health workers?
So if the person...
Did you just say health workers?
Health workers, yes.
Where did they train?
Ask me again. So it's crucial that we continue to create the awareness and sensitize our forebearers who are supposed to be in touch with the community to let them know that these signs and symptoms you can be seeing them in children. And when you see it like that, kindly refer them to the specialist so that the child can get some help. If these people do not know what they are looking out for, obviously,
that's a major problem.
Make any headway at.
Dr. Kwame,
and really need to ramp up the education, especially for diabetes.
I just have a brief follow-up on this matter. We know that on average, 1 in 4 adults in Ghana has hypertension. How are you dealing with that? It's like a concomitant effect, right? One leads to the other, and if you are not careful, your kidney also goes. So it's just a free flow. How are we dealing with that aspect of it?
Certainly, for the hypertension bit, it's much easier. Currently, you realize that people are engaged more in this health talk. People are engaged more in these keep fit activities or trying to improve our physical inactivity. The education is ongoing. However, there are other people who already have the high blood pressure, but they do not know. So we are working seriously to ensure that we can institutionalize routine screening for adults. The National Health Insurance just last month started the processes where they are going to cover routine adult screening at least within your birth month.
Okay.
So when your birthday is in, let's say, July, for me, then I'll just walk into any health facility and tell them I want to have my adult screening done. Okay. And your basic things will be checked for you. Because currently the strips for checking blood sugar, the least you can get is 5 cedis.
Yeah. In fact, I know someone whose relative has it. And guess what? Sometimes you even go to certain places, you want to buy in bulk, which is cheaper. They refuse. They want to sell it one by one. In other words, to make... So I was stunned. I was trying to help, right? And we go to this place and the whole thing costs this one, but they say no, they don't sell it that way. They have to take it out one by one at 10 cedis, which makes the cost astronomical. I'm like, what kind of wickedness is this, you know?
So all partners, we really need to let all partners realize that it's not just about the commercialization or the selling of the strip. Right. These are life-saving interventions. When you go beyond our urbanized centers, that 5 cedi is somebody's daily wage.
Yeah.
And there's no way that if the 5 cedis is all they have, they'll use it for the blood sugar test. They'll drive looking for.
Yeah.
So as a system, as a country, we need to recognize the fact where we are currently, the non-communicable diseases are here with us. It's no more a rich man's disease. You know, we used to look at it as if it's when you have self-actualized that you start getting some of these diseases. No. We have transitioned to the point where currently 45% of all-cause mortality, or for all our deaths in Ghana, 45% are directly attributable to non-communicable diseases, like hypertension, diabetes, the strokes, the complications, the renal failure, and the cancers.
Right.
So these diseases are here with us, and we need to address them holistically.
Right.
Otherwise, as you said, you get one, only a matter of time, you acquire the other, and it's just like a vicious cycle. And when you do that, it complicates matters for the patient. Now, their drugs are going to double, the stress of taking medication. Obviously, they'll start looking for alternatives.
Right.
And before you realize, we are losing a lot of people unnecessarily.
Right. And I look at the mortality rates, for example, when it comes to diabetes alone, globally and in Ghana, and it makes for stark reading. The 4,400 plus that are losing their lives every year. But hold for me, Doc. I will come into the studio shortly. There's quite a bit we have to talk about. But let me go to Evans as well. I see a message here. Duma Kawe, David says, how effective are fruits and some local herbs in managing diabetes? And this is where the red flags start. When I hear local, I've seen someone before, I'll just share this, in a hospital in, was it the Eastern region or Western? And this person had taken some concoction. I'm not even sure, I don't think it was diabetes, but some local brew for, was it malaria or something? And I have never seen this in my entire life. I always caution people about what they are taking in herbal if you don't know what is in there. You see how when parched land, famine, you see how the soil gets cracks up. I don't know whether you've seen it when there's famine, when there's drought. You see how the soil cracks up. That's how this person's skin from head to toe was. And the skin had changed color and it was oozing this pus. I have never, this person, young person in his 20s, the person was in agony till he passed. So I always say that these herbal remedies, be careful. Once you know and you are, but a lot of the time you don't even know what is in there and you are taking it. It's not to say don't take herbal remedies. So, Evans, and another thing that has come up, these aphrodisiacs that a lot of people are patronizing. You say, then soldier, you go and take it. Hey! People get him more. Evans, what can you say about these fruits and then these local remedies? Briefly on that. Hello, Mr. Adra. Do we have Evans
hello.
Adra?
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you.
All right.
So about the intake of the fruit, fruits contain a type of sugar we call fructose. Mm-hmm. And when we speak to the fruit specifically, they taste sweet. And so the more an individual takes, the more likely he or she is to have the blood sugar level increasing. Now, what I will advise is that every individual has nutritional needs. The nutritional needs of every individual differs from one to the other. Now, the fruit usually have most of them have higher glycemic index, which means that they quickly shoot up the blood sugar level as soon as they are consumed. And so one thing I would recommend...
But you mentioned dietary fibers earlier. Don't some of these fruits also come with high components of dietary fibers to mitigate the effect?
Definitely, they do. But where my perspective is that these days a number of people juice the fruits. And by juicing, they extract or take away the dietary fiber and only have the liquid being taken. And so instead of completely juicing, I'll recommend that they do the smoothies instead of, juicing to take away the fiber. Okay. So that is the recommendation. Typically, if you are to take orange, people will squeeze the orange juice. But
we will do it old school and eat the fiber.
Exactly. In addition, that is one key thing I will recommend. Then about
local herbal remedies. Briefly on that, please.
Yes. So about the aphrodisiacs, one thing I want to say is that the food we eat, if natural, contains it all to give us the needed stamina for performance in bed. So we can talk of our dates, we can talk of our tiger nuts, we can talk, a number of, these fruit products that can help us in boosting our stamina in terms of sexual performance and not to go in for these aphrodisiacs. Then about the herbal remedies, of course, some of them, the patient report, which I will not consider to be potent enough, and that when they so take it, it helps in the management of their condition whatsoever. But the truth is that Ghana here, the research, the in-depth of our research when it comes to a herbal product is very, very low. So it will be difficult to, really throw my weight behind these herbal products and how effective they are when it comes to the management of diabetes.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of weakness in the researches that have been conducted and so on. So I will not recommend. The right thing is for them to visit the hospital, have their screening done, and then the proper line of action.
All right. Evans, hold for me. Let me come back into the studio. Doc, so 2 things I want you to look at. It is also known that Yempe checkups, we don't like having checkups. Partly to, they'll say it's a cost thing. Now, they'll tell you that, hey, but checkup now make almost say, so people would rather avoid it. The thing will become much more complicated by the time they discover. By the time they discover it, it's near fatal. That is one point. What would be your advice on that? And then, what are the complications that come with diabetes? I've seen some people, they have diabetes. At some point, they get a sore. It's not going. Toes, limbs affected here and there. What are some of the complications?
Okay. So I'll start with the first question that you mentioned.
Checkups.
So usually diabetes, as compared to when you have malaria, that you have the symptoms that will prompt you to go to the hospital immediately, diabetes is not like that. There are a lot of people walking around with diabetes, yet they don't know.
They don't know.
Because it's not giving them symptoms. Usually, majority of patients are asymptomatic, meaning they don't show symptoms at all. And even if they show the symptoms, all the symptoms that they come with, it can be explained by other diseases as well. So if you don't go to the hospital for your sugars to be checked, there is no way that you will know whether you have diabetes or not. There are people who know that their parents, their fathers are having diabetes, but yet they've never checked their sugar. So the earlier you go to the hospital and check your sugar, there are cut-off values. Based on the values, the doctor or whoever checked can tell you that, yes, indeed, you have diabetes. Then we start the medications. Especially the type 2. By the time you are diagnosed of the diabetes, you already have the complication. And with a complication be the kidney disease that you are talking about. Yeah. So the
so these are some of the silent killers. And I just interject because the last time I had 2 sufferers of kidney-related issues here. And one of them, I think, mentioned that. The other one, the blood pressure level had shot up, I think 180-something or 190-something. And this other person too, so by the time they are checking, it means
it's late.
The matter is already out of hand.
Yes.
So people must go for checkups. But when they talk about cost, how do we... Is this where maybe we should have a national program or something, maybe directing the public hospitals? You can go and get yourself checked for, let's say, diabetes, hypertension and stuff, and it's much more economical. Is this where we should get to?
Yes, I think Dr. Kome mentioned what they were doing in terms of that. But I always say that if you should get the diabetes now and you have the complications, the amount that you're going to spend is way higher than going to screen for it. So if you go in, if just checking the sugar 5 cedis, the 5 cedis is way better than you being put on insulin, different types of insulin that can cost like 1,000 a month. So everyone, at least those who have the risk factors, just walk to a hospital and get your sugar checked. If you're having the symptoms, you can have you are urinating a lot and all that. Those ones, other diseases can explain it. Yeah. So usually you have to go and be screened. If you talk about the complications from your head downwards, you're at risk of stroke. Stroke, even young people are coming with stroke nowadays, and their risk factor is diabetes. They didn't even know that they were diabetic.
So your diabetes could lead to a stroke.
It can lead to a stroke. You can go blind. Your eyes, you can go blind. There are diabetics who are blind. Then when you come down, your heart, it can affect your heart. It can make your heart big, or you can even come with a heart attack. Then the kidney that we've been talking about, it can affect your kidney as well. It can affect your liver as well. Then he mentioned the fact that it can lead to erectile dysfunction as a male. It can't do that. There are people who are amputated.
You're not making some men happy out there. They are not pleased with what you're saying.
Sorry about that, but it can lead to that. That is the reason why you have to go in as early as possible for it to be screened, so that we can start the medication, we can start the treatment as early. Then when it comes to the leg, there are people that you see that they have, their legs have been amputated. Yes, diabetes can lead to that as well. Even acutely, if your sugar should go up, you can even come with coma. That's acutely.
You could go into a coma.
Then also you can come with, as far as we don't want the sugars to be so high, we don't want it to be too low as well. That is the hypoglycemia.
Yeah.
You can have that as well. So diabetes, if it's diabetes, usually my boss always said is a holy trinity. Diabetes, hypertension, and the cholesterol, they are always together. The fact that you have one, you can usually have the other as well. So go to the hospital as early as possible. You don't need the symptoms before you go to the hospital. Just go check your sugars. If they are above the levels, we can start the management as early as possible.
You know, our body's there, and we're wrapping the conversation up in the next few minutes, but you always want to maintain a balance. That's what I've learned. Blood pressure, if it's too high, problem. If it's too low, problem. Sugar levels, if it's too high, problem. If it's too low, problem. Take care of yourself because it's... Anyway, final words on, yes, medication and everything. Let's start doing our final words. We have to go in about the next 4 minutes. So yes. I'll give each one of you less than a minute. Let's start with you.
So just to add up to what Doc said, so you see your physician regularly. Then you see your eye doctor at least twice in a year. Then you see your dentist twice in a year.
I wanted to mention this. You also know that you mentioned the insurance companies.
Yes.
There's a problem in there.
Oh, sure.
They want to focus on malaria and other things. But if you're going to do anything to do with your eyes or dentistry, they cover like 1%, 2%. So you are left with. So a lot of people have the insurance, but they can't go for because it's too expensive.
Yeah. So, and then also, of course, we avoid herbal medications. Herbal medications, you avoid them. Then also, see, Doc is wearing a lipstick. She's wearing a lipstick because it moisturizes that. So we also want to moisturize our foot. When we do that regularly, Charlie, we are good to go. The monies the ladies go and spend for pedicure, Charlie, they should donate it to... and
the ones they use for bleaching as well. They should start
exactly.
donating them because they are giving themselves
skin challenges. So
it could even result in cancers.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I've known people who have gone for surgery and they can't stitch them up because the skin.
Yeah. Then one thing also we want to empower diabetics with. We try to give them free glucometers.
Okay.
So that they would, you buy the strip. And then that one, as a diabetic, anytime you feel funny, just check your sugars.
Okay.
That's a step ahead. So you check, you know the numbers, and you can quickly take.
That's a step by what? The pharmaceutical?
Well, in the hospital where I work, we do that for our diabetics.
Oh, wow.
We give them free meters, and then we then get educated. Talk about the myths. People think still, like Dr. Comey said, people think that diabetes is spiritual. Can you imagine? It's not. And people think even it's a curse. So like 6 years ago, the theme...
I mean, you can believe that God can intervene. After all, Lazarus was raised from the dead. But still do the medical bit.
Exactly, still do the basics. And then like 6 years ago, the theme of the Diabetes Month was family and diabetes. So if you have a parent or a family something who is diabetic, please just check regularly. Yeah.
Checks, regular checks. Dr. Comey, if you are with me, final words in less than a minute. Dr. Comey.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you very much to all our experts. I mean, they have just dissected the diabetes above and beyond. The very little I want to add is that let us not wait to see any of the symptoms first. As an adult, 8 years old, at least once a year, go to a health team and ask them to set blood if it is happened. When it's found anything now, some patients driving that if they are not treated on the medication, that is the meaning of money that give me your medicine and they will not make you for life.
Right.
And the tax for the our just this way, where patients bring in their home center and like their local irrelevant, and their cost rate is significantly. So it is possible way to reduce that sugar, not necessarily only, but even your cases and between that.
Okay, Dr. Kwame, we're still struggling with the connection, but thank you so much for joining us. You've added a lot to this conversation. Evans, final words, briefly, in less than a minute, please. All right, then I'll wrap in the studio. Doc, you have the final words, and we're gone.
Okay, so diabetes is on the rise. Just know your sugar. Walk to any hospital and get to know your sugars. Then, there are even people who can afford the screening, but they just say that they just don't want to know. But the earlier you know, the better. If you come early, before the complications set in, there are lots of things that can be done for you. Just know your sugars. Know your sugars. Know your sugars. The values.
All right, we have to go, but you just signaled me that it has to be very brief.
Then, please, diabetics, don't walk barefoot. Don't walk barefoot. Some people, they walk barefoot even in the night and on stones. Please, neuropathy, you get those legs cut off. I'm sorry. Don't walk barefoot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this conversation. It's been informative. Those who joined us in the studio, Dr. Beatrice Baye, physician specialist, Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and also in the studio, pharmacist Anthony Avege, clinical pharmacist at the Trust Hospital. We also had on the phone Dr. Efua Kome, program manager, non-communicable disease control at the Ghana Health Service, and Evans Selame Adra, a registered dietitian. Stay with us. There's still more to come on the AM show. We're going to be discussing some very pertinent matters. Do stay. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the AM show. Now, over the weekend, tragedy struck the community of Injiricia in the Sekondi Takoradi metropolitan area as a devastating premix fuel explosion claimed 2 lives and injured about 14 others. In this conversation, we're bringing you details and updates as it stands now. In a moment, we'll speak to my colleague Inathalia, who was on the ground. Inathalia joins me now, actually, via phone. Ina, so we know that this explosion was started by some fishermen who were conveying premix fuel that they had gone to purchase that came into contact with some fishmongers who had set fire that has resulted in this tragedy. What more details can you give us this morning?
Yes, so just like you rightly said, so for the community of Injiricia, it is difficult to, have a road to where the canoe is, where these fishermen have their expedition. And so anytime they have premix fuel or anything, they would have to roll it on a staircase to where the canoe is for their fishing expedition. And so these are some of the issues they have to battle with over the years. Apart from the 2 people who have unfortunately lost their life, we know that 2 other people have been sent to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra, 1 other person to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital in Cape Coast. I've also gathered on the ground from the parliamentary candidate for the NPP, BCU, Onyawanto. He says that government is going to foot bills for all those who were involved. I mean, all 16 persons involved in this explosion.
Can you tell me anything about how the community are dealing with this right now? What is the mood there?
Well, this has come as a shock to them because Injuresia is a fishing community. Anyone that knows Sekendi Takrade knows Injuresia to be a fishing community. And over the years, this has been the practice of transporting their premix fuel to the beach where they go on expedition. And so this has come to them as a shock for many. They were not anticipating this to happen. And so now NADMO has come in. They said there is the need for stringent measures to be made. There is a need to, get a road where cars can convey the premix fuel to the beach, and then the fishermen would not have to roll it on the ground on the staircase to the beach. I mean, from the videos we have, you will see that there is a staircase, and so they would have to roll this premix fuel from the roadside on this staircase to the beach, which is not safe.
Right. You also mentioned that governments will take up the bills for these injured people. What about the property that was destroyed? In the videos, we see that some cars were also on fire. Have there been any word on how these properties will be replaced or compensated, the owners?
There hasn't been any word with that regard.
Okay, but what more can you report going forward? Do you have word on how they are trying to deal with this going forward?
Well, it's at the prime stage. This happened on Saturday. So we have people coming in to come and see the extent of devastation. NADMO is working, and hopefully by the close of day, we hope to hear something from NADMO again, and then the regional minister, who is the head of Regional Security Council. So as and when we get any information, our viewers should be assured that we would give it to them on this particular incident. It's a developing story. We are still on.
All right. We will be joined shortly by one of our stakeholders who can give us more details on this going forward. Let's speak to Nana Abrokwa Asari, the Administrator for National Premix Fuel, and she joins me on phone now. Nana Abrokwa, thanks for joining the program. Our colleague was just telling us that the safety measures have come into question as to why these fishermen have to roll barrels of premix fuel on staircases and all that. What is the way forward in terms of safety measures from where you sit?
All right. A very good morning to you and good morning to all your listeners and viewers. All right. So the question of safety with regards to the handling of premix fuel has been an old long problem. Government has taken very key notice of the problem that we face, especially at our beaches. Gradually, we are moving towards solving these problems because these incidences have happened. I even think in the past it was even more rampant. And if we don't start it down, we'll keep having incidents. So, 2 weeks, we realized for about years the ministry has been impacted on the drive to introduce all the things. We have a
Nana Rokwa, your line is not very clear. Could we try this again? Maybe you have to reposition yourself and then let's try again.
Let me use myself. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better.
All right. Okay. So, like I was saying, the problem with regards to the safety, with regards to premix fuel, has been a very long-lasting problem. It's been around for some time. And government has taken notice of this problem. And we are gradually moving towards a phase of solving these problems that we have in the system. Like I was saying, if you look at the landing beaches across the country, we have about 300 landing beaches across the landing beach across the country. And as I speak to you now, we have about 100 premix fuel reclamation stations that have been constructed. We realize that the current system that we have, even where they sell their premix fuel, it's not the best. Look at the environment, etc. It doesn't help us and causes a lot of this problem. So we have decided, or government has decided, to change the whole process, right from the distribution distribution to the sales.
When was this decision taken? You said government have decided. When was this
decision? The project has
decision?
started. It's already kick-started. Like I said, out of the 300 landing beaches, we have about 200 that have been completed. Some are also in various stages of completion. And that is one step. Also, realize that the construction of our landing beach, like I said, this one in particular, was being rolled on the floor, on a staircase. If you look at the construction of our landing beaches, there are times where vehicles or cars cannot access the beach directly. So it becomes a problem. It means that any fisherman who buys this will have to roll it or transport it by foot for some distance before he or she gets to the shoreline, which also creates a problem. So we are also liaising with the MMDCs to look at the construction of our various fishing landing sites. I know government has started. There are about 11 modernized landing sites that have been constructed along the coast of Ghana. I think that has been done in the past, I think 5-6 years now. Most of them have been. Mori has a new landing site, Elmina, and other places.
Does it mean the people of Essikado have yet, their construction have not yet been completed? Is that why we've seen this tragedy?
Haven't been completed.
Right.
Even the automation hasn't been completed at their stage. We also have some technical challenges with regards to the design and construction of their landing beach. So these are things that we have to look at. But the process also, sometimes takes time because you have so many landing beaches across the country. But I think time and again, we've always conscientized the fisher folks to be very, very careful when they are handling for because the little thing and then that's fire. Because in this instance, the handling wasn't the best. And then at the end of the day,
you said conscientize these fisher folks. Are you saying that you have some sort of periodic education sessions with these fisher folks to educate them or sensitize them on the dangers of, creating fire in areas where there's premix fuel?
Yes, we've done a lot of education. Even last year, we partnered with Ghana National Fire Service to have training across all the various landing beaches along the beach. So periodically, we conscientize them, we educate them on this before. But I think the way to go, the solution to this problem, like I said, is to look at the technical challenges we have. We need to look at the construction of these landing beaches to make it practically impossible for some of these incidences to happen. So that has started. But of course, we can't finish this project overnight. It will take time for us to roll this project out to cover the entire country. So in the meantime, while the continues, I think we need continuous data so we know how to this or small problems would always make up.
All right, thank you, Nana Rokwasari, Administrator for National Premix Fuel Secretariat. We also joined on phone by Sir Gabi Mimpasem. He's the assemblyman for the area. Sir Gabi, thanks for joining the program. This morning, what's the mood in your area this morning? How are the people of Essikado feeling about all of this?
The people of English here, precisely.
Right.
Yeah, English is a subdivisional area.
Right. So how are the people of Indonesia feeling this morning?
Yeah, the community has been thrown into a state of mourning because it is not easy to lose two innocent souls just for any cause of that they didn't commit. So it has not been easy in the community since Saturday after this morning. But what can we say? The Lord giveth and he taketh. That is what the scripture needs us to understand. So families are now in state of mourning, and some are even shocked and are even recovering from their shock. It is not easy. The scenario here is not easy.
All right. So we now know that government is going to absorb the costs of treatments for those injured. Have there been any kind of support in terms of food or the people whose property have been destroyed? Is there any kind of support coming in right now for the people who are involved in this tragedy?
Yeah, as I speak to you now, no. But for the Metropolis, that is from the assembly, they have made a promise of 10,000, of which we will get it early this morning. And there have been other scores of promises, which of course are yet to come. But as a community, we ourselves have started some contribution from the fisher folks and then the community folks, at least to aid in the medical expenses and other relevant things that we need to do to make sure that our victims at the hospital arrive back home safely.
The whole country is mourning with you. Is there any word from the families of these two victims who've lost their lives? If you can share anything like that with us.
Yeah, it has become a national tragedy, and we would want from the presidency through to all the corteses that are involved to come to our aid in this trial time. We wish to have support coming from diverse agencies so that we'll use it to at least quench some of the pain and then the sorrows that is emanating from the community.
All right. Assemblyman for Indonesia, Gabi Mensah, thank you for joining us. Well, there you have it, some details and updates on this tragedy that struck the people of Indonesia over the weekend in Sekondi Takrady. But there's still more to come on the AM show. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, let me tell you about the Joy News Impact Makers Awards. I mean, if you've been following us for a while, there's no way you would have missed this, because this is the second time we are doing this, much like a corporate social responsibility, where we honor, recognize, and award ordinary people making extraordinary impact in their communities. This year, we have 10 nominees and 10 impact makers, and we'll tell you more. I mean, the build-up to the awards coming next month, we want you to understand the significance of this scheme, this project, and also appreciate some of the corporate bodies and organizations who've agreed to be part of this noble cause of shining light on those who make strides to affect the lives of others in our society. So this morning, on phone with me is Youth Eliasu Baba. Youth Eliasu Baba is an awardee from last year, and he won in, First, let's speak to Youth Eliasu Baba from the Upper West region, and he was an awardee in mental health. Eliasu, welcome. I'm particularly excited to speak with you because this month is Purple Month. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, I'm most grateful.
Great. So how was your life before Joy News Impact Makers Award? I just want us to take it a bit back so that we build a case so that our audience can understand the impact of this award scheme. How was life before Joy News Impact Makers Awards?
Yeah, life was okay. But actually, after joining Impact, it has been improved tremendously in Upper West region and in Ghana at large.
How has it improved? What has changed?
Yeah, immediately after Impact Making Life, I have been known to the world through Joy News. Wherever I go, wherever I am, you could see people pointing fingers at me. Hey, this is the hero of Upper West. This is the hero of Ghana.
Right.
So because of that, I'm more grateful. I think Joy News has impacted even my life into the others.
And you were an awardee in mental health. What exactly were you doing in your community that merited this award?
Yeah, for the past 17 years, we have decided to, to give hope to the mental ill people, those on the street, in the gutters, eating from garbage to garbage. So we have been giving them hope by way of, bathing them, feeding them, clothing them. So that's what we have been doing for the past 17 years. As I'm speaking now, yesterday, we brought them together and then bath them, feed them, clothe them, and medicate them just yesterday.
Now,
so that's exactly what we have been doing in Upper West here.
Right. A year on after receiving this award, you yourself have just said that a lot of people know you now. Has this in a way amplified the opportunities to get more resources so that you can help more people in the Upper West region?
Yeah, I can say yeah, because immediately after the impact making life, a lot of people get to know Bahas and a lot of people get to know Eliasu. So because of that, whoever I walk to ask for something to support my project, they don't hesitate to give it to me. Especially when we embark on Bahas mental home project and then rehabilitation center as is currently going on. A lot of people have donated 1 bag of cement, 2 bags, 3 bags, 4 bags. Through Grey News Impact Makers, they got to know me and then donated a lot to me. So we have started the project, and the project is currently going on in Upper West region.
All right. Eliasu, what would be your message to those who have been nominated already this year and those who are looking forward to joining the program next year?
Yeah, what I would advise them is just to keep it up. They should let the world know they are doing something. They shouldn't give up. So whoever have this opportunity, seriously, it's a very good platform for you to advertise yourself, like what happens to me. As I'm sitting now today, I'm a hero. Through Grey News, I can say, Alhamdulillah, I've made it. And I'll urge everybody, to put hard, whatever you are doing. You shouldn't think that you are doing it under the darkness. You should do it with your heart, and Allah will see you through.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Youth Eliasu Baba, 2023 awardee in mental health for Joy News Impact Makers. Now, let's also get on phone and speak to Richard Okomensam. Right here in the Greater Accra region. He was an awardee in Agric and Social Welfare. Richard Okomensa, welcome to the program. How are you feeling as a hero of Joy News Impact Makers Awards? Richard, can you hear me? Can you unmute if we have Richard on? Okay, it appears Richard is not on, but like Eliasu said, don't think that you're doing something in secrecy. I mean, you might think nobody's watching you, but the world sees you. And that is why we are doing this, so that we can encourage those who are already doing good to do good. Is Richard on the line with me now? Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, madam.
I was saying that a year on, after winning in a great sector as a Joy News Impact Maker, how does it feel?
Well, the feeling is good. Yeah, it's really good.
Would you say that this award scheme has opened more doors for you to amplify the work that you were doing, for which reason you got awarded in the first place?
Definitely so.
How so?
Okay, so after the award, I applied for 3 grants on behalf of some of our farmer organizations. And I won all 3 for them. So I have to select about 10 people from each association to the University College of Agriculture and Environmental Studies in the Eastern Region in Bulsu, for them to be trained as trainers to go into their communities to train the other farmers as well. And that program is still ongoing. Apart from call, practically, there was a call from particular organization, a popular herbal drink. I don't know if somebody would say.
Oh, Richard, please, if you could reposition yourself and let's try again. I lost you there for a second.
Okay, is it better now?
Yes.
All right, okay. Okay, so should I continue?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so
you said apart from the first call, that's where we lost you.
Oh, okay, so like I'm saying, I was able to get grants for 3 of farmer organizations or associations that I assisted from the Ghana Skills Development Fund. Specifically, farmers from the Central West region, farmers from the Bono East, Etima and Kranza area, and farmers from the Oti region. So they've gone to first training, and those who have been trained are to go back to their communities and train the larger community members. Because that is the COT approach that I applied for. And fortunately, I won the 3 grants for them.
Wow.
Then,
congratulations.
I also had a call from a very popular herbal hospital in Ghana. I don't have their permission to mention the name. That is very popular. Then they heard about this. I didn't know they saw the herbal hospital. Then they said, oh, no. I saw TV. I didn't know it was people are looking for some agriculture, especially honey products, because they use a lot of honey.
I'm losing you again with some interference. You'd have to reposition again.
Is it okay?
Right. Let's do this one last time. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So they also contacted me, and due to the exposure I had as a result of the award given by Joy News, they called me and asked me to come and train the workers because they use a lot of herbs and honey and other bee products in their formulation for patients who come to them.
Right.
So we have to go there, train them. And just last week, he called that they now have bees colonizing the hive. The farm is doing well, and they are starting to start their own.
Well, congratulations, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure there are some nominees who are watching us right now, and they would love to know what are some of the things they should look forward to coming June when they get to the award. You have experienced it. What would be your message to them?
Oh, I think first let me congratulate them. It's an honor to be selected and awarded, appreciating what you have done. Because sometimes you get discouraged. You thought nobody is concerned with what you are doing. But that puts you in the limelight. And I think that alone is a great honor. It's a feeling that in Ghana, at a particular point in time, in a very specific sector, you are the person that Joy News and others have chosen as the best so far within that particular sector. And I think it's a great honor.
Yeah.
Plus, the exposure you get. I mean, how do I pay for that exposure if I'm to do that alone on my own? I couldn't have done that.
Right.
No, I couldn't have done that. It's so huge. And I'm so glad Johnny is doing that for us, free of charge.
Yeah.
A documentary, 30-minute documentary, I could never pay it. So my advice today is to take it seriously, and it's just the beginning. This is just bringing them to the limelight so that they can do more. They should appreciate it, value it, and then work harder.
Richard Okomensa, thank you so much. He's a 2023 awardee in the area of agric and social welfare. And they all tell us really that their lives have been changed personally, professionally, and they can do more now than they were able to do. Let's go on Zoom now and speak to James Kwewu Senu. He's a sales and marketing manager of DBS, one of our sponsors for this year's Joy News Impact Makers. James, good morning. Thanks for joining the program. Now, why did...
Good morning, Benis.
Oh, this is Sweetie.
How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How about you? Right, so I was saying that, why did DBS agree to come on board this time to celebrate and honor these impact makers? What was the intention behind joining us this year?
So first of all, I just want to say good morning to all our viewership and all our potential customers and our customers as well. You know, the brain behind Impact. First of all, I want to applaud Multimedia for taking up this initiative to highlight or celebrate people doing extraordinary things in our communities. I think it's things which I read about, I saw on television, really marvels me. People don't normally pay attention to extraordinary things all these nominees are doing. But I just want to applaud you for taking this initiative to recognize all these people are doing. The brain is behind, we support such things, so we just want to be part of this, and we are very, very delighted to sponsor this program as well.
Right. So
yes, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. What are some of your expectations for this year? It's great that you're joining us. What are you looking forward to?
So let me take this up. For the first time, for all those who don't know what DBS is, DBS Industries is one of the...
The challenge is I keep losing you. So
yes, sweetie, can you hear me now?
Yes, James, please go ahead.
So before I come to your questions, I just want to highlight a little on DBS for a first timer who don't know what DBS Industry does. DBS Industry is one of the leading manufacturers that produces and manufacture quality roofing sheets. For the roofing sheets, we have the self-lock, we have the MSL, we have the IBR, we have the IDT, and we also have steel trusses. And currently, we also have our concrete products. The concrete products being the 5 inches blocks, we have the hollow blocks, we have pavement caps, and we also have the ready-mix concrete. So this is just a highlight on DBS.
Okay. And so now, what are your expectations as a sponsor on this program? James?
I hardly hear you, sweetie.
Right. After telling us about DBS, I'm saying that you are part of our sponsors for this year. What are you looking forward to? What are your expectations? Do you just want to have fun? Are you looking forward to all 10 people having a great time? Are you looking forward to helping the awardees get, more opportunities? What are your expectations for this program?
I hardly hear you, sweetie. I keep losing you.
Okay, we'll try one last time, and if it doesn't work, we'd have to bring you back in our subsequent bulletins. James, I'm saying that as sponsors of Joy News Impact Makers 2024, what are your expectations coming on the show? Or what are your expectations ahead of the event next month? I don't think this will be resolved right now, so we have to go. But we'll bring you more in a subsequent bulletin, so you want to stay with Joy News. But who wins the Ultimate Award? Stick and stay. We'll bring you the details in the build-up to June, and when we unveil and award all our winners for the Joy News Impact Makers 2024. Now, landing her first job soon after national service gave her some level of reassurance and a promising career. Let me tell you about the demands of a teaching job that began to take a toll on a bipolar disorder patient. SNM decided to confide in the school authorities about her condition. And in less than 24 hours, she was fired. SNM's story highlights the harsh reality many face when living with mental illness. Joy News' latest hotline documentary, When the Mind Is Not, produced by Emmanuel Jivenu, explores the complex issues of mental health in Ghana. Here are some excerpts. I'm really interested in this because I'm a strong advocate for mental health awareness. I understand that every machine needs routine, maintenance in order to, function well. But somehow here in Africa, people don't believe that you need help to maintain your mind. They don't think that you should seek help outside of your own self if you think that you need it. And so these are some of the things that come up when, you just cruising without any help, without any routine maintenance. So watch out for more on the Joy News channel when we bring you more from Emmanuel Jivenu.
There's a certain balance we all need, and it's crucial that you find that balance. Once you get off, you need help. And it doesn't mean you're mad.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that.
It's just you need help.
Let me just wish a very happy birthday to Phoenix Anof. Phoenix Anof, you are 4 today. And from me, Uncle, from Susan, Kofi, Dad, and all the others, we wish you a lovely birthday. Happy birthday to you. But let's move on to our photo of the day. Trust me, it's interesting. Our photo of the day for today. And there you have it. This one, a post office turned into a barbershop somewhere in Accra.
And it's so common. I mean, when I was growing up, we used to have these barbers go around with boards, they make a lot of noise. So you call them and they come and give you a nice cut. Not me, I mean the boys in the neighborhood. So if they've graduated from that to using post office.
fast.
But it's beautiful. Absolutely captured by V. Caleb Mensam.
Yeah.
Photo of the day. Mastermind of behind the photo of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. But thank you for watching again today. Benjamin and I.
On another occasion too. I've seen the switch from your green spectacles to your orangey.
And I'll have you know that Ekosam procured these.
I am not surprised. He likes frames like this one.
Thank you, Eko.
Well, thank you for watching us over these last 4 hours. We're grateful for your time, but still stay with us on this network, because coming up next, we have Joy News Desk, a lot of information coming your way on Myriad Matters. You want to stay for that. From us to you, we love you. Have a wonderful morning.